Okay, so seeing it's a couple minutes past 7, we're gonna call the meeting to order. I'm gonna read the legal notice and then we'll get started. Consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 10 people, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and/or listen to the meeting in real time. Persons who wish to do so are invited to click on the following link. If you do not have a camera or microphone on your computer, you may use the following dial-in number: 1-312-626-6799, meeting ID 988-1299-0238. Please use only dial-in or computer and not both, as audio feedback will distort the meeting. This meeting will be video and audio recorded. 1, continued hearings. 2, 21-11, David and Holly Stead, application for a variance under Article 190-31, C2 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, seeking a variance to add a front porch. The property is shown as map 7, lot parcel 182C of the assessor's map and is located at 8 Walnut Street. 3, 21-12, 21-13, 21-14, 610 Salem Street, Wakefield LLC, application for a variance under Article 6, Section 190-32 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, seeking a permit and site plan approval in conjunction, therefore, to allow a 30-unit mid-rise apartment building, application for a special permit under Article 7, Section 190-36C of the Wakefield zoning bylaw to allow reductions in the requirements and/or standards for off-street parking and loading under Article 7 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, application for a special permit under Article 6, Section 190-32.1 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, allowing reductions and/or alterations to the dimensional controls which are required under Section 190-32D of Table 2. The property is shown as map 39A, lot parcels 35 of the assessor's map and is located at 610 Salem Street. 4, 21-15, Brian G. Finichetti, application for variance under Article 10, Section 190-66 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, seeking a variance of the requirements of Section 190-31C5 of Table 2 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw to allow a detached garage accessory structure in the side yard. The property is shown as map 15, lot parcels 30 of the assessor's map and is located at 37 Central Street. 5, 21-6, Micah J. Canistaro, trustee, application for a special permit under Article 6, Section 190-32, G2 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw to convert a single-family dwelling into a 4-family dwelling within the existing building's footprint and volume. The property is shown as map 8, lot parcels 58 of the assessor's map and is located at 101 Cedar Street. 6, 21-17, 21-18, Benjamin R. DiMattia, application for a variance under Article 10, Section 190-66 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, seeking a variance from the requirements of Section 190-32G, 2A of Section 190-32G2B of the Wakefield zoning bylaw to convert a 2-family dwelling into a 3-family dwelling, an application for special permit under Article 6, Section 190-32G of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, seeking a permit to convert 2-family dwelling into a 3-family dwelling within the existing building's footprint and volume as required by Section 190-32G2 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw. The property is shown as map 12, lot parcel is 225 of the assessor's map and is located at 27 Water Street. 7, 21-19. David J. Lander, trustee, application for a variance under Article 8, Section 190-80G of the Wakefield zoning bylaw to allow signs on both sides of the building, with one facing Tuttle Street and the other facing the railroad tracks on North Ave. The property is shown as map 12, lot parcels 243B3B of the assessor's map and is located at 25-29 Tuttle Street, Unit 3, Board of Appeals. Whew. All right. So our first continued hearing is going to be 21-4, 21-5, and 21-6, Granite's Family Trust LLC. Brian, are you on that one? There you
Yes,
go.
I am. Yes, I am, Madam Chair. Good evening
Good evening.
to you and to the board members. As you're aware, this is a continued hearing for Granite Family Trust, and the properties are at 581, 583, 581, 583 Rear, Salem Street, down on the Linfield line. I think this is our third hearing before your board. The hearings have progressed, and we went back after the last meeting with some homework assignments, and we weren't sure if we were going to be able to accomplish those before tonight's meeting, but we worked diligently and hard, and we were able to do that. So I have...
Madam Chair,
Yes.
one point of not anything that Brian said, we never did a roll call.
Thank you. Sorry. Sorry, Brian, to interrupt you.
Go right ahead.
Going to do a roll call. Thanks, Chip. Chip,
Here.
Joe. He's giving me a thumbs up. Tom. He's giving me a thumbs up. Greg. Also thumbs up. Jim. Thumbs up. And Amy. So everybody except for Mike is here. Okay. Thanks again, Chip. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we had a homework assignment. We worked hard, and I think we completed that assignment, and we'd like to present that information to the board tonight for its consideration. With me tonight, once again, are Bill Mandel and Jim Cook, who are the principals. John Ogren is our site civil. Andy Zolowiski is our architect. So we are all present. If I may, Madam Chair, I'll go down the punch list that was created by the board, and maybe we can address the matters as I go through the list.
I think that would be good.
The first was that we had to complete our appearance and presentation and appearance at the Traffic Advisory Committee regarding the project. We were able to do that at their meeting on Friday, and they have issued a memo to your board. They have no issues with this project. They acknowledge and agree with Hayes Engineering that this has basically no significant impact on the area as far as traffic is concerned. They also looked at the parking. I raised that to them specifically because it was mentioned by your chair, who's not at the hearing, that he was interested in how they might comment on that. And they talked about that, and they were very satisfied that we met the zoning requirements. We're not looking for any relief in that regard. And they did issue a memo to your board. I just got it at about 5:30 from Lieutenant Anderson, the chair of the Traffic Advisory Committee. I forwarded it to Gail, to the board members. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but it's pretty brief and succinct. And I'm happy to, if I may, since it's so brief, just read it into the record. Lieutenant Anderson, through VHB, who is the town's traffic peer review consultant, referenced in their memo. They said prior to the September 18 Traffic Advisory Committee meeting, VHB reviewed submissions made to the TAC for 3 proposed developments, 581, 583 Salem Street being one of them. The discussion of each of the projects at the TAC meeting is summarized below. 581-583 Salem Street. In their June 29, 2020 memorandum, Hayes Engineering provided trip generation calculations for the proposed 19-unit residential development based on the Institute of Transportation Engineers publication, Trip Generation Manual 10th edition. VHB has reviewed the calculations and finds them appropriate for the proposed project. Based on a review of the site plan, the proposed parking supply meets zoning requirements. VHB also reviewed stopping site distance calculations provided by Hayes and agrees that adequate stopping site distance is available at the proposed site driveway. VHB concurs with Hayes Engineering's conclusion that the additional traffic will not have a significant impact on the adjacent roadways. So that has been completed, and that is always a requirement of your board to get feedback from the Traffic Advisory Committee. The second thing that was requested was specifically from Board Member McBain. Jim wanted some details architecturally, which I have a hard time reading, to be honest with you. But in any event, Andy provided those, and we're happy to bring those up on the screen through John Ogren. John, as part of our team, has access to all of the submittals that we gave the board. So, we can do that if the board thinks it's necessary. It's up to you, Madam Chair.
Do we want to take another look at it, guys?
I'm fine.
You're good? Okay. Okay,
No need?
no, I think we're good.
Okay, I don't want to waste the board's time. Okay, so now one of the, I think I'm gonna, there's a couple of items that I'm gonna hand it over to John, but I'm gonna highlight what they are, what he'll be talking about when he brings up the revised site plan, John Ogren from Hayes Engineering. As the board have required a sidewalk to be installed, that has now been put on the site plan in conjunction with back and forth with the Department of Public Works. I will say that the Traffic Advisory Committee was very enthusiastic about that add-on that's being required by your board. They think it's a significant benefit to the area. John has also added a hydrant within distance as required by the fire chief. We've pinned down the transformer location. John and Andy have some information as it relates to the electric meters and what's required by the light department and how that will impact the aesthetics of the building. So we want to go over that with you. And then there was also a request to specify fencing along the sideline that abuts the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light lot. So with those items in the back of your mind, John, I'm going to hand it over to you if I can. John Ogren.
You have to unmute him.
Here we go. Have the sharing disabled or?
Oh, I don't know how to do that, sorry. Oh, shoot. John, do you know which button I pressed? I've never done it before.
I don't know. I think it depends on how the meeting was initially set up.
Okay,
In the past, sometimes you have to actually give over the host.
okay.
You can do that, Madam Chair. That's easier to do, I think.
Okay, I see something that says multiple participants can share simultaneously. Is that something different?
I think I was on a meeting where they did a co-host, but
Okay, how do I do that?
I don't know. I'm not usually the host, so I'm skipping buttons.
Oh, Gail, I think is trying to, Gail, you have to unmute.
Where it says share screen, I believe you click that arrow.
Okay. And then what do I click from?
And then he should be able to, anybody can share.
Okay, I don't have to click anything else?
Nope,
Okay,
you should be able to.
And it's still staying host disabled sharing.
who can share all participants? Let me try that.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, try that, John.
There you go.
There you go, perfect.
Good for you, Gail.
I'm glad Gail was here.
Right?
Just to go over, just to point out where on the plan these changes occurred that Brian mentioned. One of them, as he stated, was a fence. We've added a fence to basically the westerly side lot line. It starts out here near Salem Street and goes along basically the light department property up to where it ties into, there's a proposed retaining wall. We're proposing a 6-foot high stockade fence along there. And then this retaining wall here, this grade actually goes up as you get into the corner and around the back of the site. So the light department's property is higher. So no need for a fence along there. As I said, proposing retaining wall here, and then along the very back is that existing retaining wall that's about 6 feet high. Sidewalk, we're proposing a sidewalk along the entire frontage of our property. Basically proposing vertical granite curb, there'll be a grass plot, and then a 5-foot concrete sidewalk. As I said, that continues along the entire frontage of this property. There's a proposed hydrant which was added in this location, as requested by the fire chief. There's also, the DPW had talked about reworking the sewer line before we had it kind of connecting out into Salem Street. They asked that we connect into the existing line on our property, so that has been revised to come along the front of the property and connect in. And I think the only remaining, the only other thing that we need to discuss is I did talk with the light department in terms of the electric meters and their location. If the electric meters are located inside the building, they require that they have a separate access to basically to those meters, so that they don't have to go through a lobby or some kind of security. They can go right in there, check the meters, and not have to deal with any of the interior of the building. So I know the school would rather that they were inside the building and not on the outside. So we looked at, and I'll speak for Andy Zaleski now. If you want to chime in, that's fine. So basically, we looked at the footprint of the first floor and to how we might be able, before the electric room was located kind of in this middle area, the floor plan. Supposed to move it over near the fire protection and the trash room. That gave us ability to kind of access to the outside and add a door to that. That change, however, does affect the rear or back elevation. There were some windows. This is the area here where the, this right here would be the new door for the electric meter room. And the window, there was a window that was eliminated, and this window, I believe, was upgraded to, I believe it was only 2 before, now it's 3. So it changed a little bit to the exterior, but I think it's fairly minor in terms of the visual. And there was already in that area for the fire protection. And I think that covers all the changes that I had, yeah.
John, they're all right with the transformer with?
Yeah, the transformer was always in this location.
And they were all right with that?
And they were all right with that, yeah.
Great.
John, did you have anything else to add to that?
I think that covers everything I have.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Brian, do you need me to unmute you?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So that deals with those punch list items that the board had. You also, as you normally do, required an operation and maintenance plan. We submitted that. And that's a pretty detailed plan. I don't know if the board's had the opportunity to review that, but it was submitted. Shall I wait to see if there's any comment?
I read it, looked at it. It's similar to what was done with other units this size that had all the details in it. Had snow, had trash, had everything we needed to.
So the only other, I'm sorry.
Did anybody else have any questions about the O&M that they wanted to bring up? No? Okay.
Amy, do you have everybody on the committee unmuted?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Brian, what was the,
Yep, so the only other things I have, Madam Chair, on my list was, there were a couple of things, just to remind the board. We talked about a tree protection issue for the neighboring trees.
mhm,
And we thought that that would just be best to have a condition that we could draft that would, basically require a site visit and a plan to be put together in conjunction with an assigned board member prior to commencement of construction, similar to what was done on the two dwellings that were built on Salem Street, if you remember that.
mhm.
And then the other thing was the signage, to try to fine tune the signage. And as is normal on projects of this sort in nature, my clients really aren't ready to commit to any sign. So we would rather that the board just retain jurisdiction and
Okay,
basically say that no signage has been approved and that the board reserves the right to approve it in the future when we can present it and get a better feel for how it's going to work with the building as construction proceeds and a mock-up panel is put up of all the materials.
okay. So just put that one on for now and then we can come back.
Correct. Just too early to commit to that.
Okay.
And that's what I had on my list. And I mean, unless I missed something.
Board members, anybody have any?
I mean, the only other thing, Madam Chair, you asked for all the boards and whatnot to be at the building department. So they were brought down there. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at them, but I think they're still there. I think that was your request.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and I actually didn't look at them. So I do that today.
I mean, we can certainly leave them there for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
If anybody has any questions, we could bring it up. I would suggest at this point that we ask Mr. McGrail, as we normally do in projects of this size, to put together his punch list of conditions and
mhm,
what approvals he's looking for
right,
to put together for the next meeting so that we could have a vote.
okay. And I'll be down there tomorrow, so I'll be able to take a look at them. Jim, did you get down there at all?
No, I just looked at the images sent to us online. Basically,
Okay.
looked all right, but I did intend on going down there.
Okay. Are you around tomorrow?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll talk with you offline. Maybe we can go down.
okay.
Okay. Anybody else have anything before I open it to the public?
Just a quick question on affordability, Brian.
Yes.
How many units would this trigger?
So 19 units. This will trigger, Mr. Lucy, 3 units is a requirement, and that's what's being proposed. There's no reduction being requested on affordable units.
Okay. And they'll be spread out, in terms of bedrooms, and they'll be consistent with the unit spread?
Correct. Yep, and DHCD approves that. That's part of what they look at too. But yes, they will be spread out through the building in the proportionate mix on bedrooms.
Okay, thank you.
So there will be 3 affordable units that will be provided.
Anybody else on the board? No? Okay. At this time, I'll open it up to public participation. If anybody has a question or comment that they would like to know about this project, you can raise your hand virtually, or if you don't see me finding you, kind of just wave at the screen and I can unmute you. And I don't see any hands up. Oh, hold on, I have a second page here. Bear with me. No, okay, not seeing any, so I'm gonna bring it back to the board.
I move that we continue this hearing till our next meeting.
Second.
Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote. Chip,
Yay.
Joe,
Yay.
Tom,
Aye.
Greg, Jim,
Yay.
and I'm a yay. So we'll continue that at our next hearing, which is October 14th. I think that's what Gail said. Okay. Brian, yeah, if you want to just get that punch list and the conditions that you normally would do, we can have that ready for the next meeting.
I will submit that in time.
Perfect.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Brian.
much,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair, members of the board.
Okay. So that was our only continued one. So the next hearing is going to be 21-12, David and Holly Stead. So let me see, I see you guys here. There we go.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, we're Dave and Holly Stead. Thank you to the board for meeting with us tonight. We live at 8 Walnut Street with our 2 little kids, so we're just trying to make as much extra room as we can. We really want to stay in Wakefield. We've been here for a really long time. So we're seeking a variance at a front porch. And right now we have no backyard, we share a driveway with our neighbor. Our contractor, Joe, is here with us too tonight. And I can share my screen and show the plot plan and some of the drafts Joe drew up. Is that okay if I share?
Sure, I'm gonna just unmute Joe.
Joe Bagliari.
Okay, bear with me while I find him.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Joe. Does his name on the screen say Joe? Oh, here he is, sorry, okay, there's no picture.
Oops.
Okay, perfect, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so here is our plot plan. And we're basically looking to, right in this area, this is where our mulch line and our bushes are. That would be where the porch would go. Most homes on our street have front porches, so it would look pretty similar to all of theirs.
The stairs wouldn't be coming towards the sidewalk anymore. They would be flowing towards our driveway.
And the next page shows Joe's draft here, proposed porch. This is our house as it is now. So the porch would be replacing the mulch line, the brick stairs, that would all be gone, and the porch would go there.
So when it says the porch is not to exceed the existing porch and steps, is that all the brick? Is that what you're calling porch and steps?
Yes.
Okay. And where are the steps going to be on the new deck?
With the driveway.
Towards the driveway.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So here's my
Front,
problem.
the front by your front door, the railing basically will be at what is your bottom step now.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. What sort of materials is proposed here?
It'll all be composite and maintenance free. It'll be Trex decking, AZEK decking and transform railings.
Chip, I think that like those, if I'm understanding what you just asked, it looks like those stairs are coming out further than the stairs that are there now.
No, the stairs, Amy, that's the question I asked. So
Yeah.
if you look at this picture that's on the screen now, the front door has a railing in front of it. That
Yeah.
railing is basically going to be where the last step or first step, however you want to
Oh,
look at
okay.
it.
I see what
And
you're
then the
saying.
stairs go out to the right.
Right.
So
Okay.
there'll be nothing protruding out front. It comes to the side now.
Right. Okay. I misunderstood. I thought you were saying that where it cut off, the stairs were going to be inside that.
No.
Okay. Thanks.
Is your deck actually going to be at 2 heights, or is that just an optical illusion?
No, it will be 2 heights because where the front door is now is actually 6 inches lower than the actual house. So in order to attach ledger boards, I need to get some framing in there. So that's why I'm dropping it down.
The beauty of old houses, right?
Yes.
So here's my problem with this is that all the houses that are on there right now are at the same line as this current house. So this is going to stick out 12 feet or 11 feet, whatever it is, or 6 feet, out beyond the line of the rest of the houses. Yes, the other houses on the street have porches or have been enclosed porches, but they align with where this house is currently. So all of a sudden, this doesn't align with the rest of the houses on the street. It's different, whether that's a problem or not. And the other thing is we don't get a true picture with this drawing that we've got basically as to what this is really going to look like. And I would think the building department wants some sort of framing plan or something else basically before any permits are issued on this. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just hadn't gotten that far yet. I just needed to get something out so you guys would have something to look at.
Because we're going to, Jim, are you going to want materials and stuff like that listed?
no, I think that my point, I mean, that's something we can talk about, but you know, I'd love to say put a porch on here, but when I look at the whole street, yes, the others have some sort of porch or enclosed item basically that was a porch at one time. It's just the alignment of this is going to be just short of the sidewalk in the end.
I guess, Jim, I don't really have, I get what you're saying, but I don't really have a problem with that, particularly where the stairs are now going to come off to the side.
Yeah, well.
I hear you. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it's going to bump out, but I just think I think when the only time you're going to see it is up and down the side, you know. I think if you look, I don't think it's going to jump out at you.
I guess if I saw something better as far as the documentation, maybe I'd feel better about it, but right now I don't feel good about it. I just don't see it coming together properly.
Well, we know that everything has to be presented to the building department with framing and everything else. So it's conceptually.
But that's after we've determined something here basically, and I just.
Well, we can always put a condition on it that we okay the plans, and that it's what is presented, both from a material standpoint and you know, that what they present to the building department is a representation of this.
I'm with both, I guess, Chip and Jim. With Chip, I don't have a problem with the actual, you know, the building of the porch, but would like to see some sort of more
So-
show the setback. That you know, I know it goes up to the mulch line, but we don't really know how far that is. Things like that. Ultimately, I don't think I have a problem with the actual project.
But I don't think did we see it, the Steves, do we have a site plan that shows the proposed addition with the setbacks that it would have?
Don't believe there is one. We're just going with the existing front stairs and steps. That's and porch.
So
That's what
the one thing we would need would be a certified site plan that would tell us exactly what the setbacks are going to be from the front from the front, because you're asking for a variance.
Yeah.
And we don't have anything that says what we're varying, right?
Yeah, that's my point, Chip. Sorry, Greg, I couldn't really hear you, so I apologize if I'm about to make the same point. But the variance is a pretty high legal hurdle. Listen, I'm very sympathetic to what they're trying to do, but we haven't heard a single legal argument either why we should be granting a variance. We don't have a plot plan. I don't want to make them spend $1 bazillion on all this stuff too, but to Jim's point, we don't have a lot here to grant a variance. We don't even know what the setback is to the front. I just think there's a little more homework that needs to be done, and I think it'd be fine, but it's a little rough tonight, is all I'm saying, in terms of lack of information.
We just need a more detailed, we need the plot plan, we need a more detailed description of what's happening.
Well, we have the plot plan.
I mean, I'm sorry,
What we normally have is a plot plan that shows existing, which we have,
right,
and then a certified plot plan that shows the proposed with all the new setbacks.
right, with the sizes and everything, where everything's gonna be placed.
Correct.
Yeah, so essentially
Because
right
that's
now-
what we're varying. We're varying the actual footage to the street. And we don't, although we say 6 feet, we don't, it's great to say it, but we don't have something that proves it.
You're gonna have a variance on the right-hand side too also, right? Because you're gonna be putting those stairs in. So that 13 feet's gonna shrink.
All the more reason we need a plot plan, Joe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
Well, the stairs don't have a roof on them, so I really
I
don't
don't know
know.
they count, Jim, right?
no.
do not.
Do they count or don't they, though?
They don't without a
Okay.
roof.
Okay,
I'm looking at the bylaw right now.
No, it has to have a roof in order to count.
okay.
Okay,
But in fairness, we'd need to know, I'd want to know how close those stairs come to the driveway, all that stuff.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. And just with the correspondence from other boards too, just to put this on record, it looks like no comments from the DPW engineering at this time. This is from Fire Chief. No objections. Concom, outside of their jurisdiction. So that's what we have for correspondence. Board members, do you have anything else you want to add before, or homeowners, do you have any questions you want to ask us if you're, so that when it's looking like this is going to end up being continued to another meeting. So if you have any questions you want to ask us so that you make sure next time when you come back that you have everything you need, feel free.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for your feedback. So sounds like we need, the big thing is the plot plan showing the proposed everything. Is there anything else that anyone would want to see?
Well, the 46 feet is the dimension of 46 feet, which is your property line. Where is that in relationship to the sidewalk and the curbing on the street?
Oh, I see.
That's just something that your civil guy will be able to do.
Okay.
Because sometimes the town has X amount of feet before you hit Walnut Street. So it might look like you have more frontage than you really do.
Okay.
And Jim, do you want a list of what do you want from a plan standpoint?
Well, what I'd really like is a better image of this is what I want. I'm not so sure about material. I mean, certainly it'd be nice to have a materials list, but I'd feel better if I had a better drawing to look at, quite frankly. And maybe I have to postpone until there's something submitted to the building department, but I don't know. I mean, it's nice to get a rough sketch if you're doing a preliminary idea as to what we think, but, you know, I'd want something more to hang my hat on in the files. Without getting crazy, of course.
Right. I mean, it sounds to me like the builder is giving them, you know, I think what people are thinking is, this is a simple porch, what's the big deal? Right? If I was a homeowner, that's what I'd be thinking. So they don't, and as a new understanding, variances bring it all to a different level as compared to putting on. So.
I mean, if this was the back of the building, I'd be a little less concerned than I am at the front. It is the front of the building. It is the face on the street. I mean, it's a very nice street, and people have done a nice job with the houses along there, kept them up very well. So that's my concern, is that we, you know, and I'm sure that these people don't want to muck it up either, but, you know, I'm just not comfortable. And I think to some degree, they need to know more what they're going to get too, because this is not an image I would, as an owner, would want to look at and say, oh yeah, that looks great. No, not me. That's, I mean, of course, I'm an architect, so I want to see a little bit more. But, you know, I also know, you know, hiring an architect's crazy in this case, but still, there must be somebody else that can do at least some sort of image here without getting into 3D and everything else, you know? I'd hate to see this thing constructed and then we all said, what happened? I'm sure they'd feel the same. I mean, I suppose one way to deal with it is walk around the neighborhood, you know, or some other neighborhood and take a few photographs of this is what we're looking to do. You know, maybe it's on their street, maybe it's on another street.
Or
You can
maybe
actually see this house is directly behind us on Cedar Street, where there is one house where the porch ends and the other house, where is the 3-story building, it comes out, basically sits on the sidewalk,
Well,
is where the porch is.
well, I'm sure there's some old houses around town you can find that, and particularly in the very old sections.
Well, no, I'm just answering your question. You asked if there was anything in our neighborhood that looked like that. And yes, literally directly behind our house,
No, that's not my point. My point is we haven't got a very good image of what this is going to look like. And if there were other porches, whether they're on the sidewalk or not, all right, what's the railing going to look like? What's the post going to look like? You know, sort of different, just walk around and, you know, take a picture or two of, well, we're looking at this sort of paneling. We're looking, I mean, I'm trying to make it easy for you. Say, you know, we're looking at doing columns this way or palings that way, cap this way. You know, there's enough porches in town that you can probably find something that you like, that you can take a photograph of and say, this is the way we're going to do this thing.
Or porches your builder has built.
Yeah, right, exactly.
This is what he did in XYZ, and this is what he's giving us.
Yeah, I mean, that you also will feel better about, I would hope, feel better that in fact you know what you're going to get in the end.
Well, we talked about this when I first talked to Dave and Holly, and they requested turn posts, which I can put into this, which I already planned for. White railings with black balusters, which is what we're planning on doing. White trim and closed in underneath with beadboard. So it was kind of hard to put all this into a drawing real quick just to get something on the table so we get the papers into to your board. That's why it's lacking some things. I understand that, but I can show pictures of exactly what it's going to look like, and I can have a regular dimensions drawing if that's what you guys are looking for, and we can talk to the surveyor, and he could add that right onto the drawing that you already have for the plot plan.
Yep, that you got it.
Mm-hmm. That would be good. Do we want, so I don't know which order I'm going to do this in, which makes more sense, but if the next meeting we'd have would be in 2 weeks, on the 14th, or maybe it's a little longer than 2 weeks actually, the 14th. So I don't know if you think you'd be ready at that point to come back, or if you want more time.
At this point, I think we're going to need more time because I don't know how busy the surveyor is and whether he can add, you know, the information to the plot plan or not.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things we typically do, Amy, is put them on for the 14th, and then if they need more time,
Continue.
continue it.
Okay.
That
It's
would-
actually, I think it's 3 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks away. I think we have.
3
It
weeks,
is
yeah.
3 weeks away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Dave and Holly, are you okay with that? We'll have you go on for the next meeting, and then if you need to, you can just, Gail, do they call you or do they have to submit it in writing? Oh, I think she's saying submit it in writing. Let me unmute her.
He's muted.
Yeah. Oh,
Unmute.
there we go.
You
Okay.
have to submit it in writing.
Submit it in writing. Okay, perfect. Okay. Anything else on the board before I open it up?
No, just maybe if they have time too, if the homeowners can just look at, when we adjudicate these cases on a variance, if they have to meet a certain legal standard, if they could just read the zoning ordinance, look at what the criteria is to meet that standard. I mean, again, I think at the end of the day, this is going to be fine, but it has to be part of the proceeding that we're presented with a case for why we should, grant the variance. It's not just the material and the look, but it's the legal part of it. So,
Right, that they have a hardship.
exactly.
They need to read the zoning bylaw and figure out what hardship they have. And it's probably lot size and topography.
I think it's going to jump right out at it.
If I was to guess, it might come down to that, but I would, I'd pull up that zoning bylaw and kind of come up with something.
Yeah, I just, as a board, I don't think we can, what the hardship is. It'd be nice if they just give us a sentence or two, even verbally.
Correct. I agree with you, Tom.
All right, so now we're going to open it up to the public. If anyone has a question or comment about what you just heard, you can raise your hand or wave frantically at me until I find you. Let me take a look. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board. If someone would like to make a motion.
I move that we continue this to October 14th, our next meeting.
Second.
Second, okay. Chip,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Amy, yes. So that's unanimous. So you will be on for the next meeting. All right.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, so next is going to be 21-12, 21-13, 21-14, 610 Salem Street, Wakefield, LLC. Brian, that's you, right? Okay, let me unmute you. Okay, Brian, anyone else on your team I can unmute now?
Yeah, so John Ogren,
Okay,
John Lloyd, who's our architect, who is John P., right next to John Ogren in Hollywood Squares here.
okay.
And I don't know if Paul Caggiano is on. He might have dialed in. He might be on a phone. I don't see him.
Okay,
He's the principal. So he's listening. I don't know if he's going to have a lot of input anyways. That's why he gets us here. So
okay, perfect. All right, so go ahead and
need him.
take it away.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail, representing the applicant 610 Salem Street, Wakefield, LLC, who has the property at 610 Salem Street in Wakefield under agreement to purchase. And what they're proposing, I'm going to get into, it's a multifamily project with 30 units. I think it might be appropriate, I guess, to start, if I can familiarize the board with the area where this is located. It's not too far from the other project that you're currently reviewing. So,
Brian, this is your first meeting, right?
correct.
So this is just going to be a preliminary overview. And then we're going to set up some schedule going down the road.
Correct.
Okay, so you're gonna have like John do site and then
Yep.
architectural and
And
then,
I'm going to give you an idea of the area. I'm going to give you a real quick overview of what the project entails, and then I'm going to have John do the site and John do a quick detail on the architecture.
okay.
That's okay. So with that said, if I could potentially, is the screen available to be shared? I think it is.
I think so, yeah.
Are you seeing that?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. So I just want to start by giving you a kind of familiarity of the location of the project. It's at 610 Salem Street. It's exactly or right on the Linfield line. You can see the entering Linfield. And when I show the property to you, some of you will be familiar with it. As you spin, it's the old Taylor rental building. It's the rental equipment building. I used to know it as Taylor Rental. Used to get my propane there for years. So this is the site. And again, it's basically right next to Kimball Lane, right on the Linfield line. As you look across the street, there's a property buried way back in the woods. And then the nearest abutter is Hayes Engineering, which I'll get to in a minute. So I don't mean to make you dizzy, but to spin you around here. So that basically as you come up Salem Street, and go past the building, this driveway entrance, just gotta go a little bit further, is to a 40B project, which is set way back from Salem Street. And then there's another apartment building next to that. And then the nearest abutter on this side is Hayes Engineering, John Oberon. And just for the record, John supports the project, right, John?
Right.
And then as we come further down Salem, you've got basically this is where the other project is going to be that you're permitting further down where my arrow is.
That we just put sidewalks in front of, right?
Yeah, so, you'll see this side of the street has sidewalks with granite curbing. But if I go back to our site, although there's sidewalks, the way this worked for Taylor Rental, there was no curbing. So everything was like a driveway apron. So when you used to go here, you could just pull in anywhere. So what we're proposing to do is put all new granite curbing all the way along and to brand new public sidewalks that will then have handicap ramp here and meet with the sidewalk here. So there's going to be a significant infrastructure improvement along this property frontage. So I just wanted to orient you where we are as we talk about this. I think I can stop sharing the screen. As far as the dynamics on the project, I'm gonna go through it fairly quickly. I think the board will be pleased at what's being proposed here compared to what would potentially be allowable with a special permit. So the lot area, it's a good sized lot. It's 44,500 square feet. Under our zoning bylaw, section 190.32, 1 unit per 1,200 square feet is allowed by special permit because it's not within the railroad 2,500 feet. So under the zoning calculation, 35 units would fit into the box as being allowable. What we're proposing is 30 units, so 7 less. What we're proposing is 23 2-bedroom units and 7 1-bedroom units. Out of those 30 units, 18% of those will be affordable, so it will add an additional 5 units to the Wakefield housing inventory and provide much needed housing in the affordable range. The other thing that this project offers, which is a bit unique, is that under the calculations of our parking requirements, we would need 45 parking spaces to meet the zoning requirements. And what we're able to propose because of a reduced density is 56 parking spaces. So there's actually 11 parking spaces extra beyond the requirement. So with that said, knowing this is the first night of the hearing, I am going to hand it over to John, if I may, to to kind of walk through the site plan because he's better qualified than me to do that. John?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. This is existing conditions site plan. Salem Street is along the bottom of the sheet. This is the access driveway that goes back to the apartments of 40B from behind the property. Next door is another apartment building. As you, on the east side of the property, this property actually does abut right up against the Wakefield town line. It follows basically the center line of the Saugus River, which the Saugus River is here, goes underneath Elm Street in this area here. So this site from a wetlands resource standpoint is there is some river, there's some growing vegetated wetlands associated with the river and the buffer zones that go along with that. Also along the rear of the property, there's also some wetlands and 100-foot buffer to that. The existing lot is 44,500 square feet. It's located, majority of it is in the business district. You can see that there's zone line. Is it not zooming for me? The zone line here kind of cuts across the back portion of the property. So the front is all business and there is a portion that's in the single residence. The site itself is fairly flat. There's an existing building. There's some pavement and some concrete from the prior use. What we're proposing is 4-story building containing, I don't know, is that flickering for you guys? Have you guys seen a flickering picture?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. All right, we'll get away from the color. So footprint in the building, proposing 30 units, parking. The parking, as Brian said, 56 parking spaces. There's 39 are going to be located in a parking garage in the first level of the building. And then the other 17 are surface parking outside and part of the entranceway to the driveway entrance and entrances into the parking garage itself. As Brian stated, we are proposing to basically upgrade the sidewalk in front of the site, adding vertical granite curb and reconstructing the concrete sidewalk. Proposing to connect to utility-wise, connecting to town water. The actual water main stops here at this driveway entrance. We'll be extending the main and connecting to it. Sewer. This will require a sewer pump station. So essentially this sewers will be pumped up to a force main that already exists in Salem Street and eventually to a manhole and where it will flow gravity. The only other thing I think tonight that I want to really focus on is we did present this to the Conservation Commission with all the notice of intent. We did receive a order of conditions from the Conservation. And so that this layout of the building and parking and it went through quite a process with the Conservation and where it ended up located and how it was situated on the site in terms of looking at the resources and trying to protect what's there. Also, probably later in a later meeting, we'll talk about there is a landscape plan that was submitted and Again, that landscape plan, a lot of the planting, especially along the river and along the wetlands along the back, were worked out with the Conservation Commission.
So John, I appreciate that you've done a lot with Concom, but I'd like to hear a little bit of what else you presented to them and why it ended up this way. To me, it begs to have the entrance off the access road on the right and nothing out onto Salem Street. It begs to me to be the L be the other way, with more parking again against the side street, or maybe even potentially in back. I'm trying to figure out how you got to where you're at, and I'm a little disappointed to hear, well, this is what you're getting because it got vetted through Concom, to be honest.
Well, what you're stating is that was exactly our first approach. As it turns out, this property does not have any rights to that driveway that goes to the back, the back property, so that we don't have the ability to access that driveway.
Could you get rights?
No.
Your
I know,
lawyer's
that's
shaking his head no.
No, that would be a disaster because that project was permitted separately and it's a private property owner. So, you know, that's a private driveway. It would change everything for that project, and it's just not feasible. We looked at that.
I mean, the things I don't like about it is the parking in front. You know, maybe you could drive, since you're doing underneath, maybe there's a way to do drive-through and put the parking in back. I mean, to me, it doesn't give a great front on Salem Street in my first blush.
I agree. It has the same problem at the building we had initially across the street. You know, it needs to address Salem Street, and I think we can do better than surface parking on the frontage for Salem Street too.
Well, getting past the parking on the front for a moment, I wouldn't want to see a solid wall across the front. There are already two buildings ahead of it basically pre-exist, and it would just create additional sort of tunnel of building face as you drive down the street. So I kind of like the L shape in that respect. Maybe it needs to be flipped, and the parking basically is on the side as opposed to up front. And it would be nice if there's more of a courtyard landscape area as part of this in the end, but I would not want to see this flipped in such a way that there's just a continuous wall out front.
I agree with that too.
Would you like to see the architectural plan just so you can look at it as a whole as you discussed? Would that be helpful?
I'm not sure that we need to get into that level of detail. I mean, this is talking about the overview and some general comments at this point. I don't necessarily want to get into detail at this moment.
No, I just didn't know if you wanted to see, maybe we can just put up the elevation of the front
You
of the
can
building.
throw up the elevation so
Yeah,
we understand.
Yeah, that's how, you know, because that gives you a perspective with the other building and how that L works, if you will.
I mean, I think I'm with Jim that you know, the courtyard, there needs to be more landscaping around the entrance. You know, it doesn't do a whole lot. The whole corner of the L doesn't do a whole lot for me right now.
It looks like a hospital.
Hit the entrance just being, you know, it begs for something, I think, more inviting, just two little doors. If we are going to continue with this L, you have parking and then it's just two little doors. So there's nothing really inviting about the entire building from that perspective.
I mean, that's my quick takeaway. I I think certainly we can probably jump into the site and architectural now that we've kind of given you some quick overviews in real depth next time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Right now, it's a pretty flat square box. Doesn't do anything for me.
No. And Brian, you got this stuff, I assume, from the fire chief?
No, not yet, because you had, with the COVID, you had to pick up the file, so they had just come in. So
Okay,
I talked to Gail. I'll get those tomorrow.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just briefly running over it, it looks pretty standard.
I'd also like, do we have the order of conditions from Concom in the file yet?
Not yet. We'll get that for you.
I have a big packet from them. I'm not sure if the order of conditions are in here. Oh, no, they are. Yeah, there's a pretty big packet in the file that Gail will have. And then there was this email from DPW. Gail, am I supposed to read this whole thing?
Nothing now. We can do that later when we've seen it and
Okay.
we talk about site or engineering or, at a further meeting.
Okay, perfect.
That's getting into the details.
Right, okay. So that should be in the file as well. I have it just on the email. Okay, that's that. Brian, anything else that you wanted to?
Well, I just did want to mention that we have been to Traffic Advisory Committee. That was part of the memo, because they wanted to deal with this at the same time. In the memo, I won't, we can get into it at a later meeting, but the memo is basically verbatim as the prior project that I read. It's almost the identical memo, that they see no issues with this. And again, they were very happy with the sidewalk improvements, extra parking. They have no issues. So
Brian, when they were doing their study, are they taking into account if both of these projects were to get approved?
Yes.
Or just one, both?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They look at future projects. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, these were both before them at the same time, so
Okay.
they certainly knew about both of them. They were the same day. Yeah,
Okay.
good question though.
So quick question, Brian, when you say they look at future projects, that's Traffic Advisory Committee, not the engineers, correct? Because I think the engineers told us they do not look at future projects.
No, they'll usually look at, they will call the towns that they're doing studies in to find out what projects are pending. They will usually do that, Greg.
All right. I thought I remember when we were talking about stuff on Foundry Street that they told us they only look at what's been permitted, not what's pending. Because
Well, they don't look at
can't-
what might happen in the future. They go by, they don't like, oh geez, maybe a building will be built here, but if something is pending, they usually look at that. Because I know my traffic consultants would usually call the town to find out if there's any other projects that are pending.
Okay, maybe that was just, I forget who it was we used with Foundry Street.
I think with Foundry, it was, gee, there's going to be a lot of development here in the future. Do you factor that in? But not non-specific.
Okay.
Any other board member have anything they want to add or ask? No? Okay.
So my question to you, Madam Chair, is, the comments I'm hearing from the board are pretty strong on this. So,
Mhm.
I want to just keep this moving in the right direction. Is this something that, on some aspects of this, that we should go back to the drawing board before we continue here? Or would you rather start in and then see where we go and go in that direction?
I mean, for myself, I'd like to see a little more done with the building itself. I mean, I don't think it has any wow factor. I know we talk a lot about as you're entering the town from the different, from other towns, we want to have a nice piece that's welcoming into the town, and that's obviously this project. And I just don't think that what you're showing us now is doing that. I think it needs to be worked on as far as going forward and working out the kinks of that stuff later. And maybe somebody else can jump in and say what they think. But there's definitely work that needs to be done with it before, we start nailing down details.
I think there needs to be, Brian, as I would say, a real sell job if this is how you want to set this building on the lot. And because I don't think it presents very well. And I think, and maybe I just took it the wrong way when it was presented as Concom put it here and we're all set. But that really hit me the wrong way, that I didn't think they design buildings these days. I didn't think that was their role or position on the site. So,
Well, yeah, and to clarify, and I respect that, Mr. Tabell, but to clarify that, they didn't design the building, like they didn't see the architecture. They work more on footprints and setbacks. So things on this building can change that I think that it would either fit within their order or we could go back to them, as we kind of contemplated we might have to. They would either deem to be a minor modification like you do sometimes, or say, no, you got to refile. But we wanted to go before them because part of their process is setting the wetland line. And, with this project, because there is a pretty significant resource in the rear, we thought it was important to do that early on. So it was not like, hey, we're going to let them drive the bus on this. It was more like, we just want to make sure that we're in line with where we can put things and place them. John, do you have anything?
The two lines you have where you can place things are, one, your wetlands boundary,
right,
and two is the difference between business and single residence, right?
Yes.
You can't do anything on single residence.
Correct.
You can't put a driveway?
No.
You can do nothing but landscape it?
Correct.
Okay.
So we can extend that line 30 feet under the zoning bylaw. We're allowed to do that.
So doesn't that put you to the edge of your property?
Yeah, John, do you want to touch on that? Just how that line works in the 30 feet in the wetland, if you could?
Well, I mean, the 30 feet would basically, it's right now the building's basically 31.6 off of the rear property line. So 30 feet would come basically to that rear property line. I think the reason why this went before the Conservation Commission first was there are wetlands along the back, which is obviously important, but I think more so was the proximity to the Saugus River and what disturbance had been done in there previously, and basically what the commission would feel comfortable with us as far as setbacks from building, parking, etc., to the resources, the river, bordering vegetated wetland, and also there's a 100-year flood elevation, so there's an area that is designated as the 100-year flood that we needed to observe too. So it was complicated as far as the Wetlands Act and making sure that they were okay with what was being designed. I didn't mean to implicate that this is the building and you got forcing it on you, but that's basically, there was a lot of time spent with different configurations other than this, and this is the configuration that the commission felt the most comfortable with.
John,
Yeah.
can this building be pulled towards Linfield at all?
No. That's kind of what I'm talking about over this side here with the river. They're trying, their goal was to try to keep the activity as far away from the river itself. Obviously there's some areas that previously disturbed, and that's where the landscaping came in, where they wanted to do some restoration to that riverfront area.
I'm just looking at the entry street to the back project, and you're going down between two walls, and then at the very corner there, you've got the corner of this building, which acts as somewhat makes it a little difficult to maybe see around the corner when you're pulling out into traffic the way it looks right now. I just wondering, I was just free thinking basically as to whether this could move a little bit and give it a little more breath of air on that side.
Yeah, no, that's basically what we were working out with the commission as to how close we could go to the river with the activities, and this is essentially what they felt comfortable with.
Have they got a sidewalk to the back lot? Looks like there's one on the right.
There's one on the right side, correct, going in. Yeah,
And
there's one on the other side.
And what's on the left? It looks like a turn in to the site.
There is a curb cut up here.
So let me ask you a question. There's a curb cut there. So isn't there, or hasn't there been, and this may be more for Brian, isn't there a right to that entrance that has been, because of precedent, because of the previous building, people used it, came out that road? Why should we give it up?
I don't see it. I mean, it's private property, and you know.
Yeah, but my point being is
even if it
might have
was
been private, it might be private property, but it seems like there's been a rite of passage over time from this particular facility.
yeah, but when you deal with rite of passages, you know, there's something called overburdening in the law, and you know, if something's for a rite of passage for, you know, that there's like one truck a day, you know, you can't then say, okay, now I have a right to bring in 50 cars. So, you know, we've researched this because that would have been our preference to do that, but there's no right there to do it. It'd be like me saying, I'm going to use your driveway, you know, because I live next door. And then if someone had been using it, they might say, yeah, I've got a right of preference because I've been using it, or an adverse right to do it. But now you can't build a building next door with a bunch of units and say all the residents are going to use it too.
So does that curb cut stay as it is?
I don't even know why that's there, but there's no you know, legal title right to do that.
Well, I mean, it looks like there's curbing turning into the site there.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you, and it's not your property, so how do you clean it up and someone doesn't think somehow? I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, it is odd. I agree with you. I don't know why that's there, but we don't see a legal right to use it.
So we're also talking about adverse possession type rule. Have anybody actually approached the owner for some sort of easement? I know it's probably hard pressed, but if we're going to be looking for, you know, 30-unit project, I'd like to see all the due diligence to see how we can get the best project. I know we're saying it's unfeasible from an adverse possession type of approach.
Well, the other thing you got to look at is, so that's a 40B project that was permitted years ago. So if you want to start using that driveway for access, now you're going to have to amend that 40B because that changes that project. So, because when that was permitted, it didn't contemplate other people were going to be using the driveway. So it's just kind of a snowball that starts going downhill fast when you start trying to do that stuff. There's a trickle down effect.
I hear you, but you know, I guess I'm involved in more urban projects. The easements are negotiated all the time. You know, it's not that, whatever. I hear you, Brian. But the other thing that I'm hearing here is, as we're through, it's a constrained site. Maybe this massing's too much on this site, given all the constraints. Maybe the project needs to be a little smaller. I appreciate the fact that you can fit all those extra parking spots in there, and that is generally one of the issues we face. But given all the wetland constraints, and you know, maybe this is too big, you know, to think about the project.
Sure. How would the board feel? And I don't even know this, but I'll ask the question because we go back and talk. The height of this building, it's 4 stories. It's only 43 feet high. 60 is allowed in the business district. So how would the board feel about going up a story and shrinking the footprint?
Not me.
No.
No, I think you know, at that height, it's like the rest of the buildings in the area, basically. I wouldn't want to see this thing towering up more. If anything, you could maybe shorten the building on one side or the other if necessary, but not to add that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we should knock down all options, though. If they could come up with some option that looks better, rather than just saying right now, I don't want to see it, wouldn't be opposed to seeing something.
Because this is a 4-story building, but as you can see, the top story steps back.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah,
But you know, it also has to do, I mean, that's one element of architecture to knock this building down in appearance, but it really also has to do with how you treat the other floors as well. And this, like I said earlier, this doesn't, and Amy said the same thing, it doesn't wow me. To me, it's at the massing study level. You know, okay, this is a mass, we can put this thing here, but it doesn't give me any architecture at this point. At least not that I feel comfortable with.
I mean, to this point, Brian, if I could suggest, and Amy, if I could suggest a direction to go, we could talk all night. But I think the best use of the time might be, Brian, that you've heard kind of the initial comments. I'd be curious to see what other things were presented to Concom as far as presenting a building that fits into the square, if you may. And I think maybe we got to go, you know, next meeting to understand site, block, kind of like Jim just said, a massing situation. And then, okay, now how do we architecturally make it the entrance into the town? If that makes any sense. It made perfectly good sense in my mind.
I was muted. So I couldn't comment.
I wish I could do that on a regular basis.
They freed me up. Yeah. No, I understand. You know what, I get the message, and you know, we get the message. I'm just trying to figure out where we go. That's all. You know, it's like, you know, normally it would be, for example, let's set the next meeting to present architecture, but we're hearing you don't like it already. So I'm just trying to save time. And,
Well,
and so maybe what we do is we present site, and John can talk about the, you know, the order of conditions and what the constraints are. And in the interim, we can go back as a team and look at the architectural to kind of see some things that we might be able to.
Maybe it can come up with a U or something in the massing.
So let us look at that.
Something,
I think it will help your board to get an idea of the constraints on the site as it relates to the wetlands.
Brian, let me ask a question just from a, you never had a pre-meeting on this.
No.
Because the conversation we're having tonight is kind of like a pre-meeting conversation. I'm just wondering, and I don't need an answer, just FYI. I'm all set, Amy.
Okay. Any other board members have anything to add? No, good, okay. At this time, I'm going to open it to the public. Just keep in mind that this is the very first meeting, and as you've heard, we're not on board with the way this looks, so we're not going to go into depth about that. But if you have a general question about anything that you saw or any concerns or anything like that, I'll entertain that now. So go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, I don't think I see any. Let me just double check here. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Any further comments?
Brian, when would you like this continued to? Unmute him.
Oh, thank you.
I can't read lips.
I muted myself. I'm sorry. I would say 3 weeks is the next meeting, so 3 weeks, and because we want to keep moving forward to get feedback, to get this to a design that's satisfactory to the board.
I move that we continue this to October 14th.
Second.
Seconded. Okay, Chip,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
where'd Jim go? Jim?
Yes.
Okay, there you are. And Amy, yes. So we will see you in 3 weeks, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you.
So next is 21-15, Brian G. Finichetti, sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Brian, is that you also?
It is.
Okay. That's 37 Central Street, am I reading that right? Yep, okay. Whenever you're ready. Or I can unmute, is there anyone?
Listed as Judy, below Grant.
Okay.
Mr. Getty and Judy.
Okay, anybody else?
No, I think that is it.
Okay.
So let me just figure out, if I may. So for the record, Madam Chair, members of the board, I represent Brian Finichetti, who is owner of the property at 37 Central Street in Wakefield. Mr. Finichetti he's in the single residence district, and he's proposing to construct a detached garage onto his property as part of his property, and we're seeking a variance from the requirements of 190-31C5. And I'll get into the details and the merits of that as we proceed. If I think I'm going to try to share my screen to, can the board see that now?
Yep.
Yep.
You can, great. So I just want to give you an idea of the property. It's always helpful to give you that perspective. So this is the Finichetti property at 37 Central, beautiful neighborhood. As you can see, a beautifully maintained home. Gives you an idea of what's going on around. And just go a little further down. So this is the driveway and the side yard where Brian would like to construct the garage, and I'll show you the site plan. Maybe if you can get, let me see, this might help. That tree kind of blocks the view, but the house goes pretty far back. So now I'm going to try to switch it to the site plan. You see all my secret emails now? Okay, let's see, 37 Central. Okay, can the board see that?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Okay. So this is the site plan, and as you know, the requirement under our bylaw is accessory garage is allowed by right in the rear yard of the property, as long as it's 7.5 feet from the rear lot line, and as long as it's 7.5 feet from the side lot line. Unfortunately, as you can see from the way this house sits on the lot, which is a unique circumstance related to the lot, you can see the angles of the lot, which is unique. It's not an exact square lot, but structures do count as unique circumstances pertaining to variances that Mr. Finichetti cannot, it's impossible for him to construct a detached garage or even an attached garage that would meet the requirement under the bylaw. So what we're requesting is a variance. What he is doing is he's maintaining that 7.5 feet here. And he's actually exceeding what would be required in the rear. As you can see, we're at 11 and 11.9. I think what is being proposed is very tasteful. I'm going to open the architectural plans. So as you can see, Mr. Finichetti went to pretty high standards to do an architectural design of what he wants to build. This is the elevation. Basically a one car garage with a door. Attic area upstairs. Brian can touch on that. There's no intent to finish that. Storage space. So it's a pretty Storage, you can see it's labeled on this, 1-car garage, stairs up inside with storage up on the second floor, not finished space. So I do think that as far as, there are unique circumstances relating to this lot. He's doing his best to maintain the spirit of the bylaw by maintaining that 7.5 feet, even though he just can't get into the backyard. Certainly a hardship because he can't have a garage because of the unique circumstances. And as far as detriment to the neighborhood, Mr. Fenichetti has had an opportunity to talk to folks in the neighborhood and direct neighbors, and nobody has an issue. And then going back to, and they did speak with the neighbor, this neighbor that would be most affected, and Brian can touch on that, there was no issue there. In any event, that neighbor has a garage which will serve as a buffer to this garage, so it's not like the garage would be right up on that neighbor's house. So Brian, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Right, and you could you just confirm that you talked to those folks? Or
Yes, I did talk to the neighbors around us about us proposing the garage.
And were there any issues that they had?
No, when I talked to them all individually, and they all had nothing bad to say. They all said that whatever we did in the yard was very tasteful, and they were, they had no problems with anything.
Great. So that's what we have, Madam Chair. I think there is a valid request for a variance, and we respectfully ask the board for their consideration. I'm happy to put whatever plan that you want up for discussion purposes, or just leave this.
So Brian, the relief that you have is to allow the garage to be in the side yard as compared to the rear yard, right?
Correct.
That is correct. Yes.
And so that's the 190-31
C5.
C5.
Yeah, which reads, just for the record, 190-31 C5. An accessory building attached to a principal residence shall comply in all respects with the yard requirements of this chapter for the principal building. An unattached accessory building serving a 1 or 2 family dwelling may be located in a rear yard within 7.5 feet of a side or rear lot line. So it's just that
in order to be in the rear yard, it has to, because some of it is behind the house.
That's right, but
it all has to be, if you drew a straight line at the rear of the house, it all has to be behind that?
It all would have to be behind the house, correct.
So even though that half of it is, that doesn't count?
No. And that's historically the way the bylaw has been interpreted since I've been practicing in town for 30 years, so. But again, the spirit is certainly being met by maintaining that 7.5 all the way around.
I don't see this as an issue, really.
Nor do I.
And going through the file, it looks like there's no comments from DPW and out of the jurisdiction of COMCOM. So there's that. Any other questions or from anyone? No?
I'm good.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. If anybody has any questions, raise your hand. It looks like Sharon. Hold on one second. Let me get down to you. You should have a button to accept to unmute it, Sharon. Can you see it?
Okay, unmuted.
If you could just state your name and address for the record.
Marilyn Sharon Ciriello, 34 Quarter Street, abuts him.
Okay, and you can go ahead.
Okay, I'm not, they misguided you when they said everybody was approved this. I do not approve of this. When they had another, when they did the original structure of the house and they added on in the back, they kind of like blocked me. I mean, I feel like I'm phobic. It's like they blocked me in. There's no way around it. It's like there wasn't an add-on to that house. It was a one-story, and they made it huge, higher up, and it just is a monstrosity of a thing. And now they want to block the other part. I mean, I'm going to feel closed in. I don't approve of this.
Did you say you're behind them?
Correct, right behind them. That's my white fence you can see behind there.
Okay. Thank you.
Other side, I think.
That's their white fence, but see the house behind there? That's my house.
Okay.
And they put this add-on and then another add-on, and it's gotten, a phobic. I mean, it's blocked everything. I can't, it's like awful.
Okay.
Sharon, what blocks you?
Excuse me, hon?
What blocks you? What does it block, though?
It's a phobic. It blocks it. The whole structure blocks. It's this high-rise thing in the backyard that's wasn't there, and now it's like getting to be like almost like a whole factory building back there. Yeah, I'm opposed to and especially coming that close to my fence too. I'm definitely opposed to it.
Oh, I wish you had told me that when I talked to you about it.
Well, no, you didn't talk to me about it. You just mentioned the fact that you were looking to have a garage put in, but you couldn't do it because of the corona issue.
No,
that's all that was mentioned. It was not mentioned that there was going to be a meeting. There's going to be, I have no idea what the plot plan is or the structure or the draft of the structure, and the architecture. And then you're building it another story high, which definitely closes me right in, So I'm against it.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Okay. And then is there anybody else in the public that would like to ask a question or share a comment? You can raise your hand or wave at me. Hold on. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody. Let me see. Okay. Bringing it back to the board. Brian, just want a quick question for you. So the rear setback is fine, correct? Are you muted or no?
Hold on, I don't know if I can or not. Hang on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the rear setback would meet the requirement of a detached garage, as I said. So would the side. It's really just where the placement of the garage is.
Okay.
So it meets the setback requirements for a detached garage.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Really just a matter of it being in the side yard versus the rear yard.
Right. And it's just basically the way that it's written, because it still is the rear yard, but not technically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amy?
Yeah.
In looking at Google Earth, basically what the abutter has is a pool that covers probably half of her backyard right up to the fence line that's just behind the fence.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side, on the neighbor's side, basically on the applicant's side, it looks like they have a deck that's out and back of the house. It comes up also to the fence. So, but on the side that we're talking about where this garage is, both of them have lawn areas, like I would say. So I don't know whether this puts a shadow line on the pool area, or I don't imagine it does, given the house might. But the house is also made up of a 1 story on the back and 2 stories on the front. So I think the concern may be, she uses her backyard quite a bit. So does it look like in this image, basically, do the applicant. I'm not sure how much effect this garage really will have on the abutter, given the appearance of the layout in the back of her yard. But it's all in the eyes of the perceiver.
Right. Well, I mean, it looks like, if I'm reading it correctly, the sun is rising and setting the opposite way. So I don't know that a shadow effect would be happening.
No, it's to the north, yeah. No, it's,
I've also took down some large maple trees that are in this, on the lot line, over by her properties and stuff like that in the past. So she has a lot more sun, if that's what you were thinking it was shading. I can't see that she has less sun. I don't know. Do you have less sun, Sharon?
the only thing
She's
I
not.
can hear is maybe there's issues between the two abutters because they're both sharing the fence and they both got sort of their private spaces abutting one another. Pool on one side and deck on the other, I don't know.
Yeah, but they probably can't see it because it's not.
Sharon's trying to speak.
Okay, let me, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, the trees were not an issue. They were trees that, you know, had airy effect and everything else. This is you're talking about a big structure again, with a two-story building. It's a two-story building. And it's a big block. It's a big blockage. And it's not like my pool is not abutting the fence. My pool is a distance from the fence, but it has I'd say maybe 6 feet, maybe 4 to 6 feet away from the fence, maybe even more, 4 to 6 away from the fence. I've been here for 33 years, and I've had and the pool was here even before I came. The people who owned it before me, they owned this house 15 years prior to. And it's just a big structure already. From the back of their house, if you look from my house to onto that street, you'll see this big structure of the add-on that they put in the back that was only a small add-on that they made it a large structure with it's a big blockage.
Okay, thank you. Okay, back to the board, anything?
So I've got two thoughts.
Okay,
One is it might be possible to move this forward a little bit, looking at the plot plan.
mm-hmm.
Two is it might be able to reduce the height. I mean, I hear the 11 feet from the fence going up basically 2 stories. And if all we're really using it for is storage, then maybe the whole height can come down. You know, the garage next to it is a single story garage. You know, maybe we're looking at a 1.5 stories, I don't know. But typically what we've had, Amy, with situations like this, if there's an abutter that has a problem, we give them a couple weeks to go try to work things out. If they can't come up with some sort of solution together, then we move forward.
Okay.
But I would like to send it back to get it to see if there's some way they can work favorably together, because usually when there's an abutter this strong against a variance, we don't move forward.
Okay.
So I'd like to give the neighbors a chance to work it out. I think
Okay.
what we found out is that they didn't know there was an issue until tonight.
Okay.
This garage is not unlike mine in that it's not quite this high, but I do have storage over my garage. I have a door, not like this, but I have an 8-foot door with a window instead of the doorway, entry doorway, basically. And I have an attic space in there, which I have for storage along with a barn door at the top. And it's not quite this high. And I live on Quarter Street. So if they want to come and see what I've done, they can certainly do that.
So what do you think? We should take it down like 3 feet or something? Or?
What's that?
Down, we could take the elevation down 3 feet?
Somehow or other, I'm missing what you're saying.
I think he wants to shrink it 8 feet.
No, 3 feet.
3 feet.
3 feet?
3 feet.
I think
Well, you
we're not going to
Work it out with
redesign
the
the speaker
neighbor.
tonight.
Yeah.
I think we need to send it back to them for the next 3 weeks. Let them try to work something out, come back with either something that everybody can live with, or let us make a decision based on what they present in 3 weeks.
Okay. Brian,
That's
are you
my
good?
opinion.
Okay, you're good with that, Brian?
I think that's very fair. I think it's, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay, so is there a motion?
I move that we continue this to October 14th.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, Chip,
We're good.
Yes.
Jim.
Tom,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and I'm yes. Okay, so we will see you in 3 weeks. Sharon, just so you'll know, you won't get notified again of the meeting. So just to have it on your calendar, you can always call the building office, the building inspector's office that day, just to make sure that they're still on for that day, but you won't be notified again.
But they will be reaching out to talk to you.
Right, yeah. Oh, is she trying to ask me something? Hold on.
Are you saying October 14th at 7 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay, but I don't want you under the impression, where do you live on Quarter Street? So I can look at yours.
23 quarters.
23. Okay, so you're down towards the lake.
No, well, yeah, I'm just on the other side of the school.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh,
The white
the corner
Victorian.
lot, the corner house?
No, I'm on the white Victorian, just on the other side of the Hurd School.
White.
I abut the auditorium.
Did you just have it painted and a sidewalk put in?
Nope,
Oh, am I at the wrong house?
you must be.
Okay.
Okay, kids.
Okay. All right. So you guys can talk offline and we can schedule this for next time. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. All right. Next one is 21-16, Micah Canistaro, trustee. Brian, is that you again?
It is, Madam Chair.
Okay, 101 Cedar Street. Who do you need me to unmute?
I need you to unmute Micah and also Lee.
Oh, that's Micah. Okay. Oh, looks like Micah might already be unmuted. Okay.
Lee Masarian. If we can find him, he is our architect.
Okay. Let me see if I can find him.
Micah, do you know what Lee is identified as here? Micah? Micah, can you hear me?
Michael looks like he's talking through his phone, so his phone has to be unmuted too.
Do I do that or does he?
Probably do that, so you have to know what phone number he is.
Oh, okay. Brian, do you know what phone number would be his?
Well, he's on the screen, so I don't.
Okay.
Micah, you've got to unmute your phone too, if you can hear us. Because we can't hear you.
Amy has to do it. He's on his screen and
thank
he's
you, Greg.
dialed in for audio, so Amy has to unmute.
Oh.
There's a 781, there's 2 781 numbers or a 603 number.
6, well, that won't be him.
Oh, he's telling us 781. Okay.
454.
Which one?
454.
Okay.
Thank you, Greg.
I just asked to unmute.
454-7228.
There we go. Okay. Can you hear
Okay,
us,
I
Micah?
think we're good. I can, thank you.
Great. Do you know what Lee is identified on in this screen? So we can unmute him? Micah?
It's muted again.
Oh.
I'm gonna go it alone.
Right. Micah, do you know
Yeah,
what?
I'm here. I just don't know what Lee's identified as. He's.
Okay.
I can give you his phone. I can give you his phone number if that'll help you identify him.
Sure.
It's 781-869-6636.
Okay. Let's see if that's Lee.
I didn't go. I fell asleep. And then I got up and
Okay, I don't know who that is. That one's not, they're not coming off of mute. Brian,
That's
you
okay.
wanna-
We're gonna go it alone.
You wing it? Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna, and if we get to a point that we need him,
Okay.
we can do that. So, for the record, I represent Micah Canistaro Living Trust. Micah is the trustee of the trust, and he's the owner of the property at 101 Cedar Street in Wakefield. And again, I'm gonna share the screen because I think it's always good to familiarize the board with what we're. Let me just find this. Oops, hold on.
Brian, I think I'm unmuted. This is Lee.
Oh, hi, Lee.
There we go.
Thank you. Okay. There we go. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, can you see?
I can, yeah.
Yep.
Great. So this is the property at 104 Cedar Street. I'm sorry, 101 Cedar Street in Wakefield. And basically, it's categorized as a one-family dwelling. It is situated in the general residence zoning district. And it also is the home of Children's Gathering, which is a preschool. It's been a preschool for years. Micah's family has owned this property in various capacities since 1983. He is now the current owner as trustee of the trust that I referenced. You can see it's right at the intersection of Albion Street. So really the whole side yard abuts Albion Street. So it's really a corner lot. It's a very large home on a very large lot in the general residence zoning district. So what we're proposing is, or what we're requesting is, in order for him to have another option for the property, we are seeking a special permit to convert this to a 4-family dwelling, which is allowed by special permit under our bylaw. And I can read the section of the bylaw and we can go through it. It's 190-32G, which states a single or 2-family dwelling in the general residence district or business district may be converted to a 3 or 4-family dwelling, provided that the dwelling is located on a lot of 13,000 square feet or more. You'll see from our site plan in a moment that this lot has over 15,000 square feet. There should be a minimum lot area of 3,500 square feet for each dwelling unit provided. Micah easily meets that requirement. There shall be a minimum floor area of 600 square feet for each dwelling unit provided. Lee can, when we go through the floor plan, we'll show you that that is being complied with. And a special permit is required from your board. And also there'd be a requirement to meet building code, fire code, et cetera. The building, if the conversion were allowed, would have to be sprinkled, and Micah would do that. As your board is aware, there's also a requirement that you cannot increase the volume or the footprint of the dwelling. And this dwelling is so large, it's just not practical really as a single family dwelling or even a 2, that there is no need and no proposal to increase the volume or the footprint, because that's not allowed anyways. So it fits within. To give an idea to the board of what's going on in the area, if you go a little bit down Cedar, I'm getting a little bit disoriented here. Hold on a second. So there's a mix of twos, multis in the area, a lot of condominiums. So 98 Cedar Street is the property that's Cedar Garden condominium, which is right down the street. You can see the driveway going in, that's Cedar Garden. Then as you come out on Albion, again, I'm going to go back. It's easier. Come out on Albion. You have the Brookbank condominiums at 262 and 272. You have Townhouse Project across the street. Evergreen condominium is in the back. So there are quite a few multis in this area. It's not unique. As far as the site plan goes, this is a site plan. It has plenty of frontage for the general residence district. 80 is required. It has 84 and then an additional 63 on Albion Street. You can see the uniqueness of the lot and also the building. It's a very large building. So we really think that this is a good use for this building. As you know, there is a need for dwelling units, a dire need. This will add 4 units. There's plenty of parking. The makeup of these units is there'll be 3. They'll actually be all, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're all 1-bedroom units. Is that right, Lee?
The 4th unit would be a 2-bedroom.
A 2. So 3 1-bedrooms, and then unit 4 would be a 2-bedroom. So when you look at the parking, we're providing 8 parking spaces. There's plenty of room for parking, and it's a walk to the train station right down to Albion Street. So we think this is really a good use for this property and a good spot for it. I'm going to bring up the architectural plans, the floor plans.
Brian, can we just talk about the site for 1 second?
Sure.
Can you explain what's happening in that corner where there's shed and pavement and all that?
Yeah,
You're at there.
Yeah, so basically what we're doing is we're taking the shed is going to be removed, and then we're adding parking in the back, these 4 spaces. That's what's.
But is there some paving being removed as well to get you back to your lot?
No, it's Micah, do you want to address what's going on the lot in that area at this point, if you could? Can you hear me, Micah?
Yes. Yeah, if you can hear me okay. So there's the front driveway, which it says existing driveway. That's all paved running right up until the shed. And then there's a paved area and a mulched area in the back there. So you can see where there's a tent back there that's all paved as well. And then behind the shed, there's mulch and a sandbox because it's a daycare right now.
All right, you guys aren't following me. Your lot line, your driveway is on the other people's property according to this diagram.
Let me get there, hold on.
In that corner by the shed. If you come to where your 24, if you look at existing.
Oh, there might be, there might be a little bit of pavement there, Chip. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
As well as the shed.
Well, the shed's coming down.
Okay.
That's
so
going to be
that
removed. Yeah. So I mean, we can talk to that neighbor about that strip because it looks to me like it's not needed anyways because we've got 24 feet to the property line, not to the pavement. But that's a valid point and a good point. I appreciate it.
And I'd also like to know what the distance from that point to the stairs are there. So when a car going through there, what's the actual width? 24 is to the body of the building.
Got it.
We can get into that.
Yeah, I understand. So if I may, I'm going to go to the floor plans. Lee, are you there? Lee?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I'm going to bring up the floor plans. I got to rotate these. So maybe you can just give the board an idea of kind of the layout on the inside, the units, how they work.
Right now, we've got Unit 1. It's a single bedroom. It occupies the lower level basement area of where the the preschool is occupying, and that's 801 square feet roughly. So that unit would be entirely contained within that lower section. Unit number 2 would be basically above that area. It would be 857 square feet. That's a single bedroom unit as well. And then on the front part of the existing structure, or probably the original structure, is a 1 bedroom. That's 996 square feet. There are 2 other levels. There's a second and third
I'm gonna
floor.
go there. Hold on. I'm gonna go there. There you go.
So the 4 unit would occupy both the second and third floor. Basically, the living space would be on the second floor, and the 2 bedrooms would be on the third floor. So a total of 4 units, 3 1-bedroom, 1 2-bedroom.
And they all meet that minimum requirement of 600 square feet.
That's correct.
By a lot. I mean, it's a unique structure in a unique location. We think it's a good use for the property.
And Brian, how much construction is happening? Are we changing out windows? Are we taking, what's happening to the exterior of the body? Are awnings coming off? What's happening?
Lee, do you want to, please?
Sure. We're residing the entire structure. We're using board and batten trim with some clapboard. It would be all new. The windows would be all new. They'd have a white sash, a black sash. A lot of the trim, a lot of what's trending in the architectural design is kind of a white structure with black. We've studied quite a few in the area and feel that this would be a really good aesthetics for the neighborhood. We also are doing a metal roof on the building, proposing, and some architectural railings, some canopies over the windows, kind of giving it a combination of a country farmhouse look to it, and staying within the footprint and the volume of space that the current structure exists.
Hey Brian, this is Micah. Maybe you could show the rendering that I forwarded today if you have that available. That'll paint a picture.
Oh, I was trying to show that, Micah. It's not showing?
No, it's not.
All right, hang on. Let me find that again. Is it showing now? No?
Still on the second and third floor.
All right, hang on a second. I gotta figure that out. Hang on. I don't know why it's not showing. Hang on. Okay, I know how to do it now. Thank you for saying that. I thought it was showing, so.
Yeah, no problem.
Bear with me. Okay. You see it now?
Yeah, we can see it now. Thanks.
Great. So let me blow it up a little bit. So that's the metal roof you can see, and the railings and the stuff that Lee was talking about, that we've actually done a rendering of this with the coloring compared to what it is. We're working on landscaping to be able to give you an idea of. We talked today, and we want to get a landscape architect involved because we think we can really do some nice landscaping improvements that will handle this, that will enhance this building even further.
So Brian?
Yes.
Unit 1 in the basement, I think you have a code issues basically related to light and ventilation. Because I'm sure that what's in there for windows are in light wells, probably small basement windows basically. And when I look at all the shrubbery and the likes along there, it can't be a whole lot of light going to those lower levels.
Can you see that now that I brought it back up?
Can I speak to that, Brian?
Yep, go ahead, Lee.
At
There
the
it is.
rear of the of that unit towards the rear yard, there is a whole well there right now that allow, you know, standard glazing units, and half of the foundation is exposed right now, but I certainly would meet those requirements. I'll make sure that we would certainly meet those.
Yeah, they also require egress, basically. Well, you got it for the bedroom, I guess, because you got a doorway. But it doesn't look like the windows are going to be substantial enough to meet the light and ventilation requirements, assuming that you're sitting in light wells behind all that shrubbery.
Shrubbery's in the front building, not so much in the back building.
It's all in the front.
Yeah, there's no shrubbery back there.
This is the back of the building.
Wow, okay.
Correct.
Kind of that one story, Jim, that if you look on the, it was,
Oh, yeah.
the
Yeah.
floor has a balcony over it.
Yeah.
It's more pavement than anything else. So, Brian, I'm glad to hear you're working on a landscape plan. I think that's important.
And I'm just looking at correspondence. DPW doesn't have any comments, and fire chief is what Brian already mentioned about the sprinkler system. And then Brian, I had a question too. Does this have any 40B component or no?
No,
Okay.
no, it's a conversion.
Okay.
Is it a total gut job in the inside?
Yes.
I guess my question too then was, Brian, you said this meets all the criteria that's laid out in the zoning ordinance for the conversion?
Well, it meets, yeah, Tom, it meets the requirements for the board to consider a special permit.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're not with this project, we're not asking for any variance. Just a special permit.
And are these going to be rentals or condos?
Micah hasn't fully decided, but he's leaning heavily towards rentals and holding on to the property.
So Brian, for me to kind of move forward, kind of since it is a total gut, and you know, kind of, I'd like to see a list of materials, list of colors, again, to know exactly what we're getting. So the building department knows exactly what they're getting, a landscape plan, all the things that you would normally do. Because it fits the criteria, I think, you know, it might be a good use for the building, but kind of similar to North Ave. Let's make sure we're not coming back from minor modifications. Let's make sure we know exactly what's happening as we convert this from one use to another. That would be my opinion.
Yep, understood.
Brian, do you have anything else to add tonight?
No.
Okay. Anything? No? Okay. I'm already seeing some hands raised, and people on the chat. So I'm going to open it up to public participation again, just like the other one. This is kind of the first meeting. Not that this is going to be a long one, but there's going to be other stuff I think that's going to come up with materials and things like that. So if that's the specific question, you might want to hold off. But if you have a question about what you heard tonight, feel free to raise your hand, and I'm going to try to come to you. Let me see. Okay, see Dave Ferrick. And then if you can just state your name and address for the record. It looks like you have to click something. There you go. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Dave Ferrick. I also represent my wife, Anna Ferrick. We live at 269 Albion Street. That's the property that specifically abuts the shed that's going to be taken down. You see it as a big sort of triangle cut wedge out of there as well. So we abut other parts of the property as well. I'm only raising a couple concerns just because I haven't heard them possibly brought up, and it seems early enough in the process that it may warrant some consideration. Our concerns primarily are with the conversion of, and I'm not sure if this is within the scope of this meeting, I apologize if it's not, but the conversion of the landscape from where you're looking at removing a good part of that side yard and the mulch in the back and paving that. Currently there is, I don't know really what the status of this is, as I don't live there, obviously, but there currently is a runoff control issue when it comes to heavy rains. You know, if you were to drive by this property right now, you will see sandbags at the side of the fence that when heavy rains come in, they need to put up. The tenants have dutifully done so wonderfully to help everyone and themselves, obviously, to stave off some very, you know, some flooding that happens every so often. I don't know how often. I would say maybe once every couple summers. However, it's considerable, especially since it just happened just a couple weeks ago. Our concerns as being a neighbor that, you know, lives in a property next to that is by removing some natural sod from that side yard as well as the mulch in the back and paving that, what that could do to the runoff into already a, you know, a high flood sort of plain area. So, you know, it's early enough just hopefully that I could state that maybe that could be considered as part of some study or, you know, put under consideration when you're looking at the landscape plans. We'd love to hear that. Possibly the other thing too is that we'd love to hear again is that, you know, I noticed that in the rendering that there is a deck, it seems like a rooftop deck that is added to the back part of the residence. That's not there now, which we would, you know, I'm not sure if you can really show this on Google Maps or anything like that, but, and I'm not, again, I don't know if this is out of scope of the meeting, but it's a direct line of sight into our entire property. Not just a particular room, not just a particular backyard or anything like that. We already have 8-foot high fences. I don't think we can go higher, but it's just something that I'd raise as a question. And again, maybe it's completely legal. I don't know, but it's something I just happened to notice tonight. So I wanted to raise it as well. But our number one concern is potential runoff concerns. And I'd love to hear that addressed maybe in the future.
Thank you. Brian, do you want to touch on any of that now?
Yeah, if I could, and thank you, Mr. Farrick, for your comments. I put the site plan up. Could you just explain the area of runoff, if you wouldn't mind, just so we understand it, so we can take a look at that?
Sure. I mean, again, I can't speak to it directly.
I've got the, is it in this area, Mr. Farrick, that the water runs?
Right now, it runs primarily right down that driveway, from what I believe. Again, I can't speak as clearly to it as the.
So it's not coming over to your property.
Well, it did the last storm. It did. Absolutely, it did. It flooded our backyard. But I mean, again, you know, that was a large storm, and I understand that we can handle some stuff, maybe some storm drainage, but our backyard flooded from that. The last storm was probably like 3 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah. And do you know where the water, I'm just trying to get, so we can look at, do you know if the water came in near the shed area, or if it came in up front? Where do they put the sandbags?
They can, if you scroll back, it's at the front of the driveway, right on Cedar Street, right there.
Here?
Yeah, that's where they put up. And actually, if you drive by, you'll see them next to the gate, essentially, that's on the, yes, right there, where you mouse. Yeah, they store them there.
Well, thank you, because I think we'll look at that. You know, potentially what's happening is we might be getting runoff from Cedar Street onto our property.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and there might be another way to address that. I completely agree with that. However, just note that, you know, by paving over more natural property, it's gonna affect us even more so. So.
Oh no, I understand.
We're more than willing to work with you to resolve this. Believe me.
Gotcha. I'm thinking that there might be a resolution with the town out in Cedar Street for everybody. That's why I wanted to understand it. So thank you. Appreciate that.
And Brian, did you want to speak to the railing that's around that roof?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, for bringing that up. So Lee, can you talk about that? Were you planning a rooftop deck up there for one of the units? Or is that decorative?
Yes, we were planning to have an outside space, nothing, you know, roofed or anything, just for the exit for the tenant.
Yeah, this is Mike. I can speak to that a little bit. There's already a door leading out to that roof. I used to go to that daycare and live in that property and work at that property. So we would go out on that roof occasionally. That was more for aesthetics. I don't, in making the design look nice. It's something we're considering. It's not something we necessarily have to do. We just thought it looks nice and for safety purposes, of course.
I understand that entirely. I know that looking at it now, there is no railing and it's just a flat roof with a door access. So it's probably existed for a while and you're able to go out there. However, I don't think it was probably, zoned for it or anything like that, which would be much more inviting to go out there. I've seen people out there working for construction or for maintenance, and which is completely reasonable. But to make it as a feature of a residence is more where we have a little bit more of a concern right there.
So if I
go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, through you. So, Mr. Ferrick, if we could get your contact information, I'd really like to reach out with you and try to work with you on some of these things offline.
Great.
And we're going to have a landscape architect. So when we come out with a landscape architect, I'd like you to be there.
Wonderful.
If you could, just so we can
Great.
talk about ideas and things that might enhance your property because you are the direct abutter. So, I can give you my phone number. It's pretty easy. It's 246-9999.
I can't write that fast. Sorry.
So
246.
246-9999.
That is easy at the end. Yeah. You're right.
And I'm extension 2. So if you wouldn't mind just giving me a call and give me your contact information, then we can get in touch with you. And when we look into these things, we'd love you to participate.
Great. Absolutely. And we would love to be part of it as well. You know what I mean? We want to see you progress as well. So more than happy to have that phone call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Somebody just commented. Yeah.
If I could,
Sure.
as we move forward, I think, in the nature of the bylaw, it says that it can't be expanded from what it is. So if that's not being used as a rooftop deck currently, in my opinion, it can't be used as a rooftop deck in the future.
Okay.
And so if it's not a big deal, I would not plan on that because I understand not wanting somebody to look down in somebody's backyard, right? And that would be expanding the use of the building, which I don't think is in the flavor of the bylaw, in my opinion.
And where he said that there's an exit door that goes out there, would you be fine with if that was either just a way of egress or just not an area?
I don't have a problem with the exit door if it's a rubber roof. You can't put furniture out on a rubber roof.
Right.
If they started putting decking and, it was becoming a deck. As long as it's a roof that can't have stuff put on it,
right?
Egress is fine, or you want to open the door. I don't have a problem with that. That's existing.
Right.
But if it's going to become an outside space with planters and everything else, well, that to me is expanding upon the current use.
If it is in fact part of the route to the egress stairway, then there'll have to be some sort of deck or something can be maintained and shovel snow and stuff like that. So that should just be a pathway with the appropriate material to continue that pathway.
I don't think there's a stair off of it from Jim, from what I could see.
Yeah.
No, there's not. There's an access from the building. There's no stairwell up to it.
Then that's just a maintenance doorway to get to the roof to do any repair work.
Right.
And Mikey, you're fine with all of that, right?
Yeah, that was just, we thought it would look nice. It's not something we're married to.
Yeah, we could leave it. I'm sorry.
I have no problem with the railings. It's the use.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not a problem. We understand.
Okay. I think I saw maybe at least one more hand raised. Let me scroll through. I thought somebody else was raising their hand. Let me just check on here. Okay, just seeing a couple of questions that came through on the chat. Somebody's asking about the footprint of the building. So no, the footprint is not changing. It's within the building itself. They also want to know what about water and sewer issues? Is this gonna, have you done any of that stuff yet, Brian?
Well, did you get a memo yet from DPW on this? I haven't seen it because,
I did. It says, oh no, I'm sorry, that's from the fire chief. Oh yeah, DPW just says, no, there's no comments at this time.
then we'll touch base with them on it
Okay.
because
And
we'd
then-
rather know now if there's an issue. I don't anticipate.
My bet would be there'll be less flushes a day than with the childcare.
True, yeah.
There'd definitely be less. Yeah, there's currently 5 bathrooms, just so everybody knows.
Okay. And then another question, how would the parking line up against the field behind the property? It looks like it's just straight in parking.
Let me get to that. Hold on. Share. There you go. Just straight in parking.
And
Brian, I didn't see, who did the survey?
Paul Finocchio?
Paul did. Did Paul lay out the parking spaces as well?
Yes.
Okay.
We're
So
open.
when you bring your landscape architect, let's just make sure these make sense. I mean, it looks pretty simple, but maybe if we shift things, we got some more green space between this and the neighbors or something.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, let's just make sure that you got enough turnaround space, all of that.
Yeah.
there's another comment, somebody said, I believe Brookbend sewer line flows into that direction. I'm not sure what that means, but
Hopefully that's not our water problem.
okay. Okay, oh, and someone's raising their hand now. Hold on. I see your hand, Sylvester. I'm just trying to find you. Oh, here we go. Okay. You'll have to unmute yourself now. Okay. Sylvester, I'm not sure if you can unmute. I'm clicking to ask you to unmute. I don't know how that comes through on your phone or if you're on the computer. Oh, no, I don't think he's there.
Somebody else just posted something that they're both at 266 Albion.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not getting anything. He's not answering. So, Sylvester, I don't think it's allowing you to unmute. You can always submit a question to Gail that can be read at the next meeting, or you're welcome to ask that again at the next meeting. I apologize. Is that him trying to come through? I don't know. Okay. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to ask a question or comment? Scroll through one more time.
Seems to be some floods issues.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Oh, there's another one coming in. Yeah, I live on Cedar Street and it floods on Cedar and Albion because of poor drainage. Okay. Yeah, so Brian, it's just more stuff about the water issue, so something to take a look at.
Yes,
Okay,
we get that message. Yep, we do.
perfect. All right, I don't see any more hands. Like I said, if somebody's trying to raise their hand and I don't see you, you can come to the next meeting or submit something in writing. So bring it back to the board. Anybody?
I move that we continue this to October 14th.
Do I have a second?
Sleeping bags, October 14th.
Okay. Chip,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Amy, yes. Okay, so all set. We will see you on the 14th.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're getting there. Next one, 21-17, 21-18, Benjamin R. DiMattia. Brian, is that you?
It is.
Okay. And anybody else with you?
Yes. Let me just find that. Ben and Dave DiMattia.
Oh, sorry. I butchered your name. I apologize.
That's okay.
I tried. Okay, you might have to click on something to unmute it now. There we go. Okay, perfect. Anybody else?
No.
No, okay.
Oh, actually, yeah, Peter Sandulis. I'm sorry. Sorry, Pete.
I see Peter down there, but I don't know if
Yeah.
he's on this one. Okay,
He's with us. Yep.
perfect. There we go. Okay, go ahead.
Great. So thank you. Can you see my screen, which is the house?
Yep.
The stucco house with the red car in the driveway?
Yep.
Great. Thank you. So again, where we can't share pictures, this is just a great way to familiarize the board with what's happening here. For the record, I represent Benjamin DiMattia, who's the owner of 27 West Water Street. Recently purchased it in May of 2020. His dad, Dave, is a big help with him on the property. And basically they purchased this property, which is situated in the business zoning district, not any residential district. They purchased it in a pretty significant state of disrepair. They've had a working relationship with most of the neighbors to improve the property. A lot of safety issues in the building that they're working on and addressing. It's a pretty large two-family dwelling. And what they're seeking is a special permit coupled with a variance, and I'll explain why they need the variance to convert this into a three-family dwelling. We think it fits in the area. We think it's a good use for the town, and it would be an improvement for the building. One of the things that would be required if it goes from a 2 to a 3, because it's currently a 2, is the building will be entirely sprinkled, which will provide safety for all of the tenants, because the fire department is now requiring when you convert to a 3 that you have to put a sprinkler system in the building. So the property, as I mentioned, is at 27 West Water Street. As you take a turn and head towards North Ave, you will notice that the abutter is a parking lot, which is kind of a double lot. So this is a significant multifamily on Richardson Street, and its parking lot is our neighbor. So we have no neighbor to this side. And then as you look across the street, you do have a couple of single family homes here, which, there you go, to give you a perspective, and I'll go back down that way. And Dave has had an opportunity to meet with those folks. And then you have industrial type use building here, which is kind of across the street on a kitty corner. You head down. Whoops, sorry about that. I don't know what I just did. Just bear with me for a second. Here we go. Can you see it again?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So you head down, and what I try to do is move this over. So this was the building that was before the board not too long ago that they were trying to get a huge number of units. Remember, they applied and they didn't meet the bylaw requirements, and you nicely told them. Yeah, and they withdrew their application. So that's one of the abutting properties. Then you keep coming down towards North Ave, and this is an old, kind of an older, because this is now 175 North Ave, which is the Maggiore condominiums. So that's, talk about an improvement. That's how that property used to look before that project was built. So then we head back. This is our property coming up on the left. There's a mix of, those industrial and commercial uses. Then you have a bunch of multis, twos, as you go down. And, you know, the key component to this is you're right in the downtown district. So you know, this is a really unique property because it abuts, it's in between the railroad station. So you can obviously walk to the train, and, you know, it meets the goal of our downtown, you know, to try to provide housing near downtown, because it has the opportunity to provide another unit that would be walkable to, again, the train and to the downtown business district. Right now, the makeup of this is kind of unique. It's a 2-family house, and it has 1 2-bedroom unit and 1 5-bedroom unit. So, you know, that 5-bedroom unit it's really not an easy thing to rent. And, you know, usually, the type of tenants that Ben and Dave, when they initially looked at this and after they owned it and started talking to people, it's not really conducive for a family or for a young couple, professional. It's more conducive for a bunch of, you know, folks that want to share and rent individual rooms, which is, you know, with all due respect, is really not the type of tenant that they would like to have in the building. So this is an opportunity to kind of divide that 5-bedroom and to, you know, make it 3 units. As I've mentioned, Dave spoke to the folks in the neighborhood, and he can touch on that. But I am going to hand it over to Peter because, you know, well, let me get into the relief that we're requesting. That's probably important. So basically, this is pretty much the same thing that we just went over on Cedar Street, because this is a 2-family dwelling in a general residence district or business district. We're in the business district, and it can be converted to a 3 or a 4, providing you meet certain requirements. And one of them is the square footage of 13,000 square feet and 3,500 square feet per unit. We don't meet that requirement because of where this property is located in the business district. So let me bring up that plan. Hang on a second. The site plan. Okay, can you see the site plan? So again, there's no changes being proposed to the building. That's important. That's one of the requirements. We're not putting any additions on, no increase in footprint, no increase in volume. The property, as you saw when I had you on the Google Street, it actually has 2 driveways. So there would be plenty of parking. We have 6 parking spaces. There's actually more because, you know, if we wanted to, we could actually go further back. But Paul delineated that it's very easy to meet the 2 parking spaces per unit. So each unit would have 2. They would be stacked. First floor would probably have the 2 on the right, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then 5 and 6. So they work well with each other, that the people that live in those units would be able to have stacked parking and work. So as you can see, this is a 4,550 square foot lot, which is pretty standard for this area. But, you know, the uniqueness, so we're actually seeking a variance for the area as it pertains to the conversion under 190-32G. We think that this property begs to be converted to a 3, and the variance is warranted because of its location, the uniqueness of the size of the lot in comparison to the size of the structure that was built on it. And it would be a real benefit to the neighborhood, to the town, to the business district. It would be a benefit because the property is going to be significantly improved by the DiMattias in this project. As I've mentioned, safety elements will be inserted, which the fire department loves because the entire building would now be sprinkled. And with that said, I am going to bring up the architectural plan and ask Peter to kind of go over the floor plans with you so you can see what we're proposing and how this will work. Peter, are you there?
Yep, I'm listening.
Great. There you go, Pete. Can you see that?
Perfect. So this is the first floor. By simply adding a door to the right, and you can see it annotated in the red there, It isolates the stairway to the second floor from the first floor. Gives me a 2-bedroom unit on the first floor, 1,280 square feet. Front door, side door, rear stair. Go ahead, Brian, you can go to the next.
Yep.
Now, when you get to the top of that stair, you can go into unit 2, which is 1,280 square feet, also 2 bedrooms. It repeats just like the floor below. I'm adding one more door. You can see it annotated at the bottom of the screen to the right there. And that's the stairway that's existing to the 3rd floor.
Right there.
This is where we'll create the upper unit. Go to the next floor, Brian, please. And this is in the attic underneath the existing line, which is very steep, creating a 1-bedroom, 725 square foot unit, bathroom, washer, dryer, small kitchen, living area. And that unit actually begins at the stairway below. So that stair is open down to the 2nd floor. This is an example, and we've done this twice before now, where the sprinkler system allows us to have one means of egress from that 3rd floor. You don't have to add any exterior stairway. There is a stair existing in the far left there. There's some headroom issues to it. It'll remain there as it's just another means. As our code exists now, wouldn't really qualify. But this is how we would put the heat on the 3rd floor.
So you see how, how big this structure is. So, one of the requirements, as I mentioned in the bylaw for conversion, is each of the units need to be 650 square feet. 2 of them are well over that. We're still able to get the 3rd at 705 feet. I'm going to ask Dave, I tried this once with a prior hearing, as you know, it didn't go that well, but I have to do it again. Dave, if you could unmute Ben and David, Madam Chair, because I just want Dave to talk to the board about his discussions with some of the folks in the neighborhood, if you could, Dave.
Actually, both Ben and I have had discussions with the neighbors. We went together to see them, and they've been stopping by to chat and watch some of the progress on the outside. And we spoke to them about our plan or our thought about adding a 3rd unit as opposed to a 5-bedroom unit. And they were all very supportive and kind of sort of enthusiastic, and they encouraged us to move forward with it and wished us luck with you folks tonight. And I'm very pleased with what they're seeing with the property and having us as landlords there. As a matter of fact, there's a couple of them on now who are willing to speak on our behalf if necessary.
Brian, so if I'm looking at the plans correctly, it looks like it's going potentially from a 6-bedroom to a 5-bedroom. So it's actually losing one of the bedrooms. I mean, I know it's separate, it's 3 units, but.
Yeah, Pete, do you want to touch on that so I don't make a mistake?
That's correct. Amy, if you look at the this floor, the 3rd floor was the 2 additional bedrooms to the 2nd floor unit. So we're basically opening that up so that it becomes living, kitchen,
Okay.
bedroom. That's right.
Okay. And are these going to be sold or rented? Oh, let me unmute them again.
Yeah.
There you go.
They would be rented.
Rented out, okay.
They're vested in this property. They want to maintain it and use it. It was kind of being used for that number of bedrooms, for lack of a better term. It was like a flop type house that, with that unit. So they really want to kind of make it a professional property.
That's good.
So again, the same question that got asked the last time. Are we changing windows, or what are we doing to it? What's the project?
New kitchen and baths. Am I still unmuted?
Start over, Dave. Start over if you could, because you didn't hear that.
The windows had already been updated. The roof had been updated. We're repairing and restoring the stucco on the exterior. Interior units will get new kitchens and baths. A couple of new ceilings that are necessary, new wiring.
So the only thing exteriorly that's going to change is the addition of 1 door? Everything else has been upgraded already?
There are no additional, exterior?
Yeah.
I think I might have misspoke, Dave. There are 2 front doors currently. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
I thought I saw that. Your architect thinks he's adding a door.
Yeah, no, I think we were just annotating that that's the entrance to the unit above.
I'll send him the
They're there.
So there's no really changes to the exterior at all.
No.
No footprint change.
You had double stack parking on the site plan. Is there no curb cut for the on the left-hand side? Or is the curb cut double wide already?
It's already double wide.
Let me go there, Chip, so you can see it.
Okay.
Hold on.
No, I can see it from there.
There it is.
Yep. Okay.
And the parking lot's next door.
So I'm surprised there's no dormer being installed on the top floor, because I mean, you got a window at the front and a window at the rear, almost like there should be a window probably down street towards North Avenue in the living room area in the form of some sort of dormer there in that area. No discussion on that point?
Not allowed.
As far as the architect?
Is that increasing?
I didn't think we could change the volume, so we didn't propose changing anything there.
Well, you wouldn't be changing the volume, would you?
They can't change the volume or the exterior.
Well, the bylaw says it has to be within the existing footprint and volume. So volume's never really been defined, but my
You're
understanding
adding
of it,
form, or you're adding space.
yeah, that's the way I've always interpreted it. That's the way the building inspector has interpreted it.
Then I would suggest maybe a Velux or two.
That would not add volume.
No, it would,
Skylight.
but it would provide light.
Skylights.
It can be operable at the same time. Anyways, just a thought.
And it looks like Concom is not in that jurisdiction. DPW doesn't have any comments. And then, Brian, you talked about the sprinkler system. Did you read the letter from the chief?
No, did he reference the sprinkler system, Madam Chair?
He says 3 family dwellings do require interconnected smoke and CO detectors in common areas. And then he just said, I would caution the applicant, however, that a substantial renovation of this property could trigger a requirement for the installation of residential fire sprinkler system conforming to the requirement of NFPA Standard 13.
Yeah, and Dave, you're doing that, right?
Yeah.
Dave, could you confirm you're doing that?
Yes, we are doing that.
Yeah, because I said that, so I've made that representation. I just want to confirm that it's correct.
Perfect, okay. And then, so it sounds like it has to be hardwired for smoke and CO.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, okay.
It will meet all fire department requirements. I would assume that you will probably have that as a condition if you decided to approve it.
Mhm. Okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Brian?
No.
Okay. Board members?
Yeah, you guys separating all the utilities?
Yes. I'm just making sure. Yes, we are.
Okay.
Okay. And any hands raised? I'm going to open it up to the public if anybody has any questions. I see a hand raised. Hold on. Let me get to you. Oh, there we go. Okay. And if you can just state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Tiana Veldwish. I'm at 28 Westwater, so I'm pretty much directly across the street. And wanted to confirm, we've spoken with the DiMattias, and the property is already looking better from just the exterior, stucco repair and paint and windows they've done. We're supporters.
Thank you. Okay. And anybody else from the public have any comments or questions? You can raise your hand. I don't think I see any. There's no comments down here. Okay, so bringing it back to the board. Anybody else?
Madam Chair, I move that we, Brian, do you want special permit separate of variance or?
Yeah, there's two separate,
variance and
two separate applications, Mr. Tabell. So there's two votes.
Okay,
There's
so
one for the, yeah,
The special permit is based on 190-32G.
correct.
Variance as well?
The variance is from a variance from the from requirements of 190-32G 2A and B, which is the lot area requirements of that section of the bylaw.
Okay. So I move that we grant a variance for the project as represented by the plans from Peter Sandors. I can't move it with a date.
On the plan, it's dated
The date on the
7/30/20.
Was it?
July 30th, 2020, right, Peter?
Yes, I can't see it with the photos there, but
Right.
so.
July 30th, 2020 by Peter Sandors, and the site plan presented by,
Paul Finocchio, and I'll give you the date on that, Mr. Tabell. Hang on a second.
$728.
Thank you. Just double check it. It's coming up now. Yep, July 28th, 2020.
so by the architectural by Peter Sandors of July 30th, 2020, and the site plan by Paul Finocchio, 7/28/2020, based on the size of the lot and the size of the building, grant the variance for the setbacks based on 190-32G A and B
For the lot area.
for the lot area.
Thank you.
There's a second.
Second.
Okay, Chip,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Amy, yes. So all in favor on that?
I move that we grant the special permit based on 190-32G, that it meets all the requirements now that it has the variance for the lot size in the bylaw to convert from a 2-family to a 3-family based on the same drawings as in the variance.
Second.
Okay, Chip,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Amy, yes. Okay, all in favor for that as well. You're all set with that one, Brian,
All
right?
set. Thank you very much, Madam
Thank you
Chair.
all so much. Thank
Welcome.
you.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Thank you.
Board members.
All right. Now we have 21-19, David J. Lander, trustee. I'm sorry, Ladner, trustee, 25 through 29 Tuttle Street, Unit 3. Brian, that's you?
It is.
All right. Who do we have?
We have David, who's listed as David on the screen. David Ladner.
Okay. Let me see. David. Oh, there we go.
Hello.
Dave, you there?
Yes.
Can I proceed, Madam Chair?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I
Okay,
thought you were
okay.
looking for something.
Thank you. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrill, representing Mr. Ladner, who is the owner of 25-29 Tuttle Street, Unit 3. It is a condominium, which I think the board is familiar with. I'm going to bring up some, let me just find this if I may. Probably the best thing. Hang on a second. So this will give you a real good familiarity of the building. This is the building that we're talking about, the old train station. So we've got the barber shop in one of the units here, and then David purchased the other unit and is the owner of a Remax real estate brokerage firm. Remax Leading Edge, right, David?
Remax Harmony.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies.
Okay.
Yeah, it's getting late. So David, welcome David to Wakefield, very successful real estate firm, and now he's a member of our community, and he's actually invested by buying this property and is going to operate his business here. The board is familiar with this area because this property, along with the strip mall, which is where House of Pizza is, and Maya and restaurant, they all have frontage on Tuttle Street, but they also uniquely abut the railroad, or the railroad, which, although they technically don't have frontage on North Ave that would qualify them for a sign because the railroad's between and North Ave, the buildings in that area beg for a sign. So what David is seeking is to basically be able to install signs on the Tuttle Street side and on the North Ave side across, obviously facing the railroad track. Technically, under our bylaw, as the board is aware, because you've dealt with a number of these, a variance is required for our sign bylaw to allow this to occur. So what we submitted, to give you an idea, because we're still kind of fine tuning.
Hey, Brian, can I cut to the chase?
You're pretty good at that, Bill. But let me just show you.
It's getting late. What you submitted is horrible. But yet we have a sign guy on our committee that loves signs. Can I suggest that you work with Mr. McBain offline and come back with something that is decent?
I'm always open to that. I think that.
I think if Jim is, and I don't mean to be harsh.
I think that would be fine.
Unkind, but this would not be what we'd want to have facing either side, in my opinion, and I think Jim might agree. So I would suggest that rather than us redesign it here tonight, I think, we've granted variances on all the properties to have signs on both sides. So I think it's just important now to get what would look good and what would be appropriate. So I might ask Jim work with him offline.
No, I'm fine with this, but I think if we look at what we've accomplished on the track side and dressing up the signage along there, basically, this is one of those things which we want to give the tenants along here exposure, but we also want that exposure to come with some a nice looking sign like the others have done. I mean, granted, we have a few more something better. Not backlit, but anyway, could be front lit. But anyway, something that's much nicer along there and sort of is similar to what's happened to the rest of the buildings along there. So give them the opportunity, but by giving the opportunity, we want a better representation on that side of the street, and as well the other, because we've cleaned up the other sides of the street as well. So it's good to work with them to come up with something that makes sense for the building type, as well as something that represents what we want to do, what should be appropriate for the rest of the street as well.
And for their business.
And for the business, yes. That's why we want them to have signs on that side.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Brian.
Yeah, I think we're fine with that. I think it would be productive, and I think it would probably, David's concern is to get the signage up as soon as possible, obviously. So I think that would probably streamline the process. Instead of us throwing arrows in the dark and guessing what might be acceptable, we can work with Mr. McBain to come up with something that he could represent to the board that he would think would be appropriate. So Dave, are you okay with that, David?
Yeah, I just want to add that, like you mentioned earlier, Brian, that we did purchase this condo it's pretty, you know, sizable investment for someone like myself as a small business owner. So I am, you know, invested in this location, and I've already, in January, obviously the timing wasn't the best timing right before COVID went down, but purchased a 5-year agreement with Remax, and obviously purchased the location. So I'm planning to be here for decades. I'm 37 years old. You know, built a very successful business in record time compared to the industry. But with all that said, I'm also going to be cleaning up the exterior of the building, because for those of you that know this building, it's like a mustard yellow and it's ugly.
I love that.
So yeah, we're going to be, you know, I think our interests are the same to have it look. I mean, it's such a great building. The brick and the design of it is actually quite unique, and the way it looks right now, it doesn't do it justice. So we're going to be cleaning it up. By the spring, we'll have it painted. It's going to be maroon with gray trim, and I'm very much. I've been planning this for months. And Brian, thank you for your help. But you know, once we get it painted and get the signs up, it's going to look like a completely different building than it does right now.
Do you own the whole building?
No, sir.
Okay, so how do you, if you're going to clean the building up, how do you? I assume the barber shop owns the other half.
Yeah, so Bert Kendrick, his father, I've been learning about the history from Bert and from John, the owner of Wakefield House. But, you know, so we're a part of an association. I've already met with Bert and the other owners. Mark is another owner. And we're all in agreement. We've already vetted contractors as far as, you know, putting the plan together as an association to execute these plans. So it's not just, you know, my wishes. It's the association as a whole that intends to make these improvements together.
I just mentioned something. I do not believe there's any permit on record for the barber shop, particularly on the track side. So if you're doing an overall package within the group of you, we might want to talk to the barber shop basically about getting himself straightened out as well. You can pass that on.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's if there's an association or a group basically that is in this building, then and you're going to end up stripping or doing something to the building, he's going to end up being affected on his sign, I would think.
I really am not. I don't really feel like I've put a lot of time and effort and reaching out to Brian and trying to focus on, you know, my portion of it. I mean, that's
all right. Well, I'm not putting any weight on you. I just, you know, I mentioned it. We'll have to deal with your abutter basically later.
I would think, Dave, he's probably, you know, if the building's going to get painted, he's probably going to consider what he wants to do with his signage at the same time at some point, right? So, not a big deal.
Sounds like an offline conversation.
Yeah.
All right, so we know where we're at now. So Brian, you and Jim can figure out a time to meet up and handle all that.
I'm gonna coordinate with Jim and Dave's sign folks so we can get on this right away and,
okay.
And come up with something that works.
Okay. Do I need to open this to the public?
Yep.
Okay. So anybody from the public, if you have a question or comment about anything, please raise your hand. And I don't see anybody. All right, so back to the board.
I move that we put Jim as our rep and that we continue this to October 14th.
Second.
Okay, Chip,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yeah.
Greg,
Yes.
Amy, yes. All right, so we'll see you in 3 weeks.
That's great. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. All right, so that wraps up all of our hearings. So other matters, I think Gail sent me.
Yeah, I move that we approve the September 9th minutes as written.
Second.
Second, okay, Chip,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Amy, yes. Okay, and hold on, I'm just looking for Gail's email. Not going forward tonight. Okay, so that one's off. Okay, do we have any clerk's report? Nothing from me.
The only we should mention basically, I guess, since we're not covering it, that Frank prosciutto once again is missing in action. Because it's on our agenda.
Yeah.
So Mike sent an email, I assume it was to the group, maybe it was just to me, that he's got Paul Finocchio doing the drawing. So I'm assuming since the civil drawings aren't done, and then he knows he's got the fire chief to have to sign off on a drawing, that there was nothing to discuss tonight by them. Gail, anything from you?
No, hold on, I gotta unmute her.
Yes, he just said he wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't, when I did the agenda, I didn't know that, so, yeah, but he, yeah.
So do we just keep continuing this? Like, what are we doing?
Well, it was other matters, right?
plan,
So I don't think
yeah.
we need to even continue it.
So how do we get him so that he comes back?
We don't care.
Okay.
He needs an occupancy permit.
Yeah.
He's gotta come back.
Okay.
Yeah,
In
when the
my
plans
opinion.
are done, he'll come back.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll come back around. Unfortunately, we can't get rid of him at this point.
All right, so that's that one. Any other matters?
One question on the package that we have received on landscaping. Have you looked at it at all, Chip?
Yes, I was online with Dave. I've looked at the plants, the plant materials. It's all approved.
Okay, all
But I
right.
told him it was at his own risk since we had not, as a group, approved it as a minor modification yet.
Yeah,
So I
okay.
said I would recommend that it was a minor modification and they could buy plants and move forward, but I couldn't guarantee that the rest of the group would feel the same way.
Okay, great.
So I don't know what they've done.
Yeah. And I don't dare drive down there because he's liable to grab me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still looking for the town to weigh in on the sidewalk by Sunny Notos. I mean, there's still a lot of open issues that I feel like haven't been closed.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Anybody else? No?
Tom, you want to share any thoughts from Cambridge?
Not really. Want to see the second half of that Celtics game, so I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Chip.
We're all in favor.
Okay.
Anybody not in favor?
All in favor. Okay. All right.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right, guys.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
later.
See you
Bye.
soon.
Everybody be safe. Everybody be well.
You too.
Good, see you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.